Check. Check the mic. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy hump day. I hope you're all getting in some humps already or later today. It's very important for your mental health to get your humps in. Make sure you're doing it. Whoever said black hat, you're right. Shout out to my guy Bider, who made the intro music, who also made the Bree song, and who made this hat. This is Bider. If you're looking for somebody to do a little bit of intro music for you or any music work at all, check out Bider. I don't know if he's here or not, and his lovely wife Britt, who is my unofficial therapist. Great to have them on the team, and great to see all you guys. Happy Wednesday. Let me get the multi-stream up here so I can see all the different messages. My voice was absolutely destroyed yesterday. I couldn't talk for like most of the day. It was a weird day. I was on the phone a lot yesterday, plus yesterday's live. So I apologize in advance if my voice starts cracking and it sounds like I'm going through puberty in my 30s. I don't think I am. Let me make sure I get in the VC here with Jen. Oops. Here. There we go. I'll check the settings too. Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know why this does this. I really need an IT person. I really need somebody who's smarter than me to help me run shit behind the scenes. But I should be able to hear you now, Jen. Do you want to check that?
You need a smart person to run things for you behind the scenes, really?
Well, like physically, not all
like
the stuff. Yeah. Sorry, I should have been more clear on that. I'm already in trouble. It's 9:34 my time. 4 minutes in, and I'm already in trouble.
Bro. You kind of already have one of those.
Which reminds me, you sent me a message. This is from earlier today. Jocelyn said, "Good morning. Let's start the day off with a little fuck, marry, banish. Kelly Clarkson, Miley Cyrus, and Pink. This is crazy. I don't know how. That's a kind of like a who's who at the top of my list. All right. Start with who's going to get banished. Banished is probably. This is hard. This is going to expose me, Jen. What do I do about this?
You know what? Can I guess?
Yeah,
can I guess
yeah.
here?
That's a better way to do this. Yeah.
Let me guess. Okay. You're gonna say.
This is really hard for me. Honestly, it's really hard for me.
I'm trying to think. Like, there's a couple of ones that I can think. I mean, logically, what would make sense? Like Ashley said on Twitch, is marry Kelly Clarkson. I'm gonna flip that. I think you should marry Kelly Clarkson, but I think fuck should be Miley. I think she'd probably be more fun, and then banish Pink because she's kind of irrelevant. I don't know today, but for you, I feel like you would be more toxic. I feel like you would choose.
I want the chat to guess what they think. I think these are their choices in the chat. I want the chat to guess like where I would be there. Miley has a crazy, annoying speaking voice.
She doesn't have to talk.
What's that?
She doesn't have to talk. They say Miley's voice is annoying. She doesn't have to speak for certain things.
I think complicated has it right. Here's the thing. Like, there's a certain amount of crazy that I like. And,
I know that's where.
I know, like Miley Cyrus, like, she kind of does it for me. I don't know. But here's the hard part. Both Kelly Clarkson and Pink are incredible singers. I just saw a video the other day of Pink doing like vocal exercises, and she was singing with somebody like standing on her stomach, and like I think they were like kind of bouncing on her stomach. It's incredible, like how much strength it takes in your core to sing like Pink. I think Kelly Clarkson's gonna go. I think they're right. She's gonna. First of all, Kelly Clarkson has had a tough life. She's also, goddamn, she's one of the. She made me cry. She did that song about her dad when she did it live. That song about her dad like never being there for her. I forget what that's called. That made me cry. It also made me like I think about that song all the time. That performance specifically like made me want to make sure like I was a good dad. It's so hard, but Pink's unbelievable. She's probably my favorite like vocal artist. She's so good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Danny on YouTube like F Miley, Mary Pink, and Banish Kelly. I think that
That's
one
the
makes
move.
the most sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's toxic enough for you.
Well, Miley's well, yeah. If it's toxic enough for me, I gotta marry Miley. Here, maybe this is the thing. Maybe you marry Miley because that's not gonna last very long, anyways.
That's true. You don't have to necessarily stay married. This is 2025.
So maybe there's no way to do this though. Yeah, there's no way. I don't know. You know what? I'm old enough now at this point. I don't need Miley Cyrus in my life. I'm changing it. I'm gonna. She's getting banished.
You don't need it, but you're still gonna go there.
No. I've matured. She's getting banished.
Right.
Shut up. Let me do this. Let me sell myself on this. She's getting banished. I'm gonna have a one-nighter with Pink, and I'm marrying Kelly Clarkson. But on one condition that she sing me to sleep every night. That's it. You don't believe me?
No, not even a little bit.
I'm growing up. I am. I'm growing up.
I don't believe you.
All right. Well, that's a lie I'm telling myself today. We all tell ourselves
lies.
I mean,
it's your lie. You tell it. I mean, that's so. But So here, since
but
I'm
that
here,
song, that music video she did, Miley. Let's go back to it. Yeah, you're probably right. The one she did where she broke up with whatever that Hemsworth dude was, and she did that music video, and there were all like the Easter eggs in there. I think about that all the time. That was incredible stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like that she made fun of Joe Rogan on his podcast. I don't know if you remember that. Joe Rogan's.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good.
They're like watching those the reality TV. Like I don't remember what it is. I remember saying Yas Kennedy, whatever that show's called. That creepy show. And then Joe's like, it's all the same stuff every time. She's like, that's what I feel like when I watch your show. It's all the same stuff every time.
Oh, all right. Well, like I said, it's your lie. You tell it. And I wouldn't expect anything less.
Thank you.
So I'm glad we're on TikTok for now. So Jay, let's not do our absolute best to get removed from there. That would be fantastic that we don't do that. So I don't. You were on. I doubt you were on last night. So Liam was on a live with Nemo and some other people.
Is that push-up guy the guy that did push-ups against Good Trouble?
Yeah,
that's Liam.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so of course I came in with the push-up video, and then I guess Liam had a domain on his bio that like he was promoting for something, and it was open, and so they bought his band's domain website.
What do you know what it is?
I can probably find it. I can get it. I'll find it. Now, do you have a link for that? Could you send it to me? But yeah, so they bought his domain website. So he comes on to talking trash like he always does, and so he ran because when the video of him losing that push-up contest came up, and then he lost his band's domain. So
tough day for Liam yesterday.
For sure, but I'll find the domain. I'll send it over later. But since I'm here and before you can get the show going, we adjusted the gift goal a little bit. This this is our job and we're trying to get things to go. So if you guys can help us out, do this where we enjoy doing it, but it is a lot of work and a lot of resources. So we're slowly moving the gift goal a little higher, just so that we can keep doing this and providing the information. The way I wanted to put in more, but Jay said no.
How about you just sell me out right at the beginning?
I'm gonna say Jay's a pussy, and he didn't want to ask for more. So this is why we're at 350. This is how this goes because he's a weenie. So that's That's what happened. I mean, that's what you want. You said for me to sell you out.
That's true. That's true. I didn't know it was going to be like that. I didn't know.
I mean, you ask for things. Don't ask me for something if you don't really want me to do it.
You're right.
So, but there. Anyways, so yeah, if you guys could help us out as we get going, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking down that gift goal. And on TikTok, you've got your daily heart me. You could send that over there. We also on TikTok to keep things going and to help out our agent, our HR person who gets Jay unbanned because Jay does his best.
Well, not this last time, though. Didn't get it done this last time.
But, I mean, there's only so much someone can do for you. I mean, we can lead you to the water to drink, but I mean, other than drowning you, we can't make you drink it.
Jesus. All right.
Yeah. So if you guys help us out with that, if you haven't subscribed to us, please do so. Tap the screen on TikTok. On Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub to subscribe. On YouTube, you can just subscribe for free. Also, we have 4 different memberships, so you can join us for the member-only events we've been doing here and there. And then, let's see. I need to update some of my jokes here. They're not all fantastic. They're not great. I have a baby tree that just sprouted from a seed.
Aw.
And instead of giving it water, I'm giving it fluid for pen refills. I don't know if it's going to work, but I have an inkling.
That is a lot of work for that joke.
It was, and it wasn't that good, and I was disappointed in it. I'm not going to lie. And don't you love the bear?
I don't understand this graphic, actually. It's getting a lot of compliments. I don't understand it. What is this graphic? Jen set the graphic for today. I don't get it.
Well, it's Russia is known as the bear, as a bear.
Oh, okay. I was thinking the bear, like the man and the like versus bear. Okay, I'm with you now.
No, and so I sent a couple others too. There for that one, for the thumbnail today, there were some good images that came through. So,
all right. Well, let's get into it. As a reminder, if you're here and you're opposed to anything I say, you're welcome to come up. We welcome debate. We thrive on debate, and we didn't have any debate last night, so I'm itching, and I'm on my best behavior. So maybe I'll try it. This is like the 85th time in the last 2 months that I've promised the audience that I was turning over a new leaf. But I think slowly but surely I'm getting a little bit better. So if you'd like to come up and debate any of these points, you're welcome to come up. I did want to go over, I like popping into Discord. Like every once in a while, as I'm prepping a show, I'll have it done 30 minutes before the show starts. And for most of you, that makes sense. But for me, usually, like as I'm going live, I'm still adding links or moving things around. So I was a little early today, and I went into our Discord just to see what's happening. And I'm just gonna play 2 videos. I didn't watch them yet, but I'm gonna play. The first one is from Zoli in the Discord. And a reminder, if you're not in Discord, where the fuck you at? And you can drop links in there. You can hang out with like-minded people. It's also free to hang out in Discord. We don't charge anything, so if you want a link to the Discord, get with one of our mods. Here's the first one from Discord user Zoli.
Anybody explain this to me? This man right here, Paulo Zempoli, the Italian modeling agent who sponsored Melania Trump's visa to come to the United States to begin modeling in New York City. Also the founder of ID Models in New York City, and would eventually go on to make ID Models an international modeling agency. And shortly after he sponsored Melania Trump's visa to come to the United States to work as a model in New York City, he would introduce Melania to Donald Trump. And Jeffrey, before he passed away, claimed he was the one who introduced Melania and Donald Trump, and shared some very detailed information about the first time that Melania and Trump did the deed on his plane. We obviously don't know.
Thanks, Johnny. Johnny's back to on his balls, says bouncy balls. Thanks, Johnny.
If it was Jeffrey or Paulo who introduced Melania to Donald Trump. But it doesn't really matter because they're all in the same social circle anyway. Paulo, Melania, Trump, Jeffrey, Ghislaine, all hung around the same clubs and went to the same parties together. What I would like to know is how a career modeling agent has now somehow become a United Nations diplomat and is now working in our current administration.
Oh, I can explain that. This isn't that unusual for a president to take somebody who's close to them or somebody who's been a donor to them and give them an ambassadorship that they're not qualified for. This happens all the fucking time. But it really, really happens with the Trump administration. The amount of idiots that they have put up with this administration. I'm trying to remember. I think it's the ambassador maybe to Sri Lanka. I can't remember. That literally doesn't know anything about Sri Lanka. I could maybe find that video, but I could explain at least that one.
Since his work with the UN consisted of collaborating with Ghislaine Maxwell's oceanic nonprofit environmental cause Terramark. We all remember the Terramark project, right? This nonprofit that Ghislaine, likely, and Jeffrey founded to kind of like look like good people in the world. If you've watched Ghislaine Maxwell's TED Talk about the Terramark project, you know that this was just a cover to make themselves look like they cared about anybody and the planet. As you can see right here, the Terramark logo looks exactly like the logo that we have seen in many, many photos. Like between 2013 and 2014, Ghislaine and Paulo, who used to party together with the richest of the rich, were now sitting together at United Nations meetings. Not only is he a career modeling agent, not only is he a UN diplomat, not only has he worked directly with Ghislaine Maxwell, he's also a frequent guest at Mar-a-Lago. And furthermore, in March,
But guys, every president has a ambassador that was best friends with the world's most renowned P3DO, and every president was on the Epstein flight logs, and every president we've ever had, there were clips of Jeffrey Epstein saying that they were best friends, and every president we've ever had had Jeffrey Epstein at their wedding, and every president that we've ever had has quotes talking about how they liked Jeff and he was such a good guy, and how he liked young girls. This is what are we digging into here? This isn't unusual. This happens with every president.
Trump was doing the weird takeover of the Kennedy Center, Paulo Zempoli was placed on the board of the Kennedy Center with Trump and named a special envoy for global partnerships. The guy who allegedly introduced Melania and Trump was associated with Jeffrey and Ghislaine, was associated with multiple co-conspirators within Jeffrey's case and Ghislaine's case, and was a big boss in the world of international modeling, an avenue that Jeffrey and Ghislaine would often use to prey upon girls and women. When we put all that together, I think we can put him on the list of people who would benefit from these files never being released. Just from that very surface level glance into Paulo Zempoli that we just did, I just feel like there could be some conflicts of interest. And I fear what I will find if I continue to dig deeper. I just simply cannot figure out how Paulo made it from point A to point B.
That Weird Al? Who is that? Who's that guy in the middle? That guy's coked out of his mind. Who is that? Ted Kaczynski? Who the fuck is this guy? Looks like Rafi from whatever that show was about fantasy football. I can't remember what it's called.
Like, from a career modeling agent to a UN diplomat working in the administration. But what I think is very interesting about Paulo, it shows us that there are shadowy figures in this administration who we don't see regularly, who we don't talk about regularly, who would absolutely benefit from those files never being released.
All right. Shout out. I've seen her before. Her name's Becca something, right? That content creator. I think this is the second or third time I've shared one of her videos. She's great. And then this was from Kate Smith in the Discord. Again, I haven't seen any of these. But I.
Well, pals, I'm delighted.
Actually, this one I watched. I need to fact check some of that one before I play that. Kate, I appreciate you showing that. I may show that tomorrow. But I need to fact check some of that stuff. There was some stuff I had questions on. Then this was also dropped to the Discord, but I think it's applicable. This is how we'll start the show today. The judges reject Trump pick for top New Jersey federal prosecutor. And then the DOJ under Pam Bondi does Pam Bondi things. So the U.S. Justice Department accused a panel of New Jersey federal court judges of political motives for declining to permanently appoint Donald Trump's former lawyer, Alina Haba, as the state's top federal prosecutor. By the way, you could say this is political all you want if you're a Republican. She's deeply fucking unqualified. She has virtually no qualifications to be the state's top prosecutor. She has no prosecutorial experience. She's not a very good lawyer. This is fair. This isn't one of those like politically motivated moves. The judges on the court in New Jersey named Desiree Grace, the second highest ranking official in the U.S. Attorney's Office, to replace Haba on Tuesday. Hours later, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Grace had been removed. They just fired her like 4 seconds later. Poor Grace. What the fuck did she do? She's just out there doing her job. The Trump administration chooses a dog shit lawyer to be their appointee, and then they're like, no, we need like an actual lawyer. And so then Grace gets made the top lawyer, and they're like, you're fired. What did she do? It's not her fault that this administration is completely incompetent. This Department of Justice does not tolerate rogue judges, especially when they threaten the president's core Article 2 powers, Bondi wrote. That's Pam Bondi for you, folks. Very principled Pam Bondi, currently hiding all of the Epstein files from us. Pam Bondi is out here talking to us about rogue judges and presidential powers. Federal law allows district courts to intervene if the interim U.S. attorney has not received a Senate approval within 120 days. I think the real story here is the Senate could absolutely confirm her. They don't want to. The Republicans in the Senate don't want to. Nobody thinks this is a good pick. They've just tabled it. They've shelved it. They don't care. They don't want Alina Haba. Nobody does. The story here that the Trump administration, goddamn, is trying to spin is that Alina Haba isn't being accepted because she is a Trump appointee. But like hundreds of Trump appointees have been pushed through already. The Senate doesn't even want to vote on this. That's how bad she is. They don't want to be on the is another blatant attempt to intimidate anyone that doesn't agree with them and undermine judicial independence. That's from Cory Booker. Haba's been there for 120 days. She's limited to 120 days unless the court agrees to keep her in place, which they said, no, thank you. Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general, said on X that the U.S. District Court in New Jersey was trying to force Haba out of her job. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Yeah, force her. You can't stay there longer than you're allowed to stay there. And if you tried to stay there, then you're going to be forced out. I wanted this part too. I just want to go after. Here's what Haba did during her time as New Jersey's interim U.S. attorney. Her office brought criminal charges against U.S. Representative LaMonica McIver as she and other members of Congress and Newark's Democratic Mayor Ross Baraka tried to visit an immigration detention center. You remember if we covered this, and it was probably everywhere else that you watched the news. But this is where they tried to go to the detention center. ICE came out. They tried to like push through. I think it was Baraka got like pushed, and when he got pushed, his elbow like glanced an officer, and she tried to charge them with 2 counts of assaulting and impeding a law enforcement officer. MacGyver obviously said not guilty, and then they just dropped the charges. She was a ceremonial pick in the first place, and she wasn't doing real work. She wasn't doing real investigations. That's like what she did. She tried to prosecute a person in Congress for going to do their job, who then got pushed into an ICE officer, not even an ICE officer, actually. I'm not sure. I think it was maybe just DHS. And then they tried to file assault charges. And of course, those assault charges didn't stick. That's what we're doing over here with the Trump administration today. Dumb shit trying to distract. I also want to show you some things I found funny today. We talked about this yesterday, but I didn't have all the details, and now we have the details. Remember this silly little bitch? You guys remember him? He's currently laughing because he's admitting he's a Nazi. That's what he's laughing about right here. You caught me. You caught me. I'm a Nazi. And then the people that he worked for saw this video, and they're like, Jesus Christ, we can't have a Nazi working for us. Well, of course, you can't openly be a Nazi and expect to keep your job. And so naturally, these whiny bitch Nazis were like, that's not fair. You're canceling our freedom of speech. And so
careful with the
I'll try. I have to say, the N word.
Yes.
I shouldn't say it like that. The schmatzy word. Then he put up this. He says that he wasn't going to raise any money when he got fired. And then he was convinced by, I think it was Owen Schroyer, who is the guy who lost all his money because of the Sandy Hook stuff. Like they claimed Sandy Hook was a false flag. Jesus, that's not good. False flag. He worked for Alex Jones. And he is the one that apparently reached out to him and convinced him to set up a GoFundMe. Owen Schroyer then pushed it. And here's his explanation. My name is Connor, and I was recently shown in the latest Jubilee episode. As a result, unfortunately, I was subsequently released from my job, fired. I'm raising money as an emergency fund and for other expenses while I look for a new job. To clarify, I was terminated from my position for holding fully legal, traditional right-wing political views. I don't think saying you are a schmatzi and that you're a fascist, I don't think those are traditional right-wing political views. I don't know. Maybe. What do you Republicans in here have to say about that? He's saying that being a schmatzi is a traditional right-wing view. I think you guys would be against that. This is cancel culture. Facts. This is actual cancel culture. This is when cancel culture is good. Private business decides we don't want an open schmatzi working for us. Therefore, open schmatzi cannot work for us. You chose to go to LA and you chose to say those things. Deal with the repercussions. If you want to be a political analyst, if you want to go debate people, if you want to put yourself in the public light, be prepared for the backlash. It happens. I just went on the Rift, which I don't know what the fuck that is, where I shared my story of what happened. You can watch it here. I watched like one clip of it. It's silly. Yeah. Dude was very excited to finally tell everyone what he was. Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like, it's not like he was upset. And this will probably work for him for a while. He'll be able to grift off this. Like, think of, what's that one idiot's name? Actually, I have her tweet. That's the next one. This is a good segue. Riley Gaines. Remember when Riley Gaines took 5th place, tied for 5th place with a trans woman, and then has turned her entire career into advocating against trans people? She tweeted this. Here's Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show from I guess 2023, but she tweeted it out today, and this just made me laugh.
But as I sit here today, I feel like I'm definitely on the right side of history and went through a lot of shit for an opinion.
Oh yeah, last I saw, he had raised about $30,000. That idiot.
For an opinion that was my own, personal belief based on what was best for my body, and in an era of censorship and quelling free speech. I'm glad that I took the stand that I did, and welcoming more and more people to the side of freedom and free speech.
Yeah, except for you weren't vindicated. You're an idiot. You were wrong about all of your data. You were wrong about ivermectin. You were wrong about hydroxychloroquine. This is just why we have a problem with MAGA. This is a problem with America in general. The Dunning-Kruger effect. There's just so many confident people who have so many dumb opinions. And when they're proven wrong, they take that proof that they're wrong as evidence that they are more right. It reminds me so much of the cult that I grew up in, where any amount of evidence that shows that you're in a cult or a dangerous cult is like, that's just evidence that people hate you, and they only hate you because they're evil and they want to control you. So those are the 3 things that I found funny today. One more thing. I'm not going to show it. I don't want to show. I don't know what how much we're allowed to show Nick Fuentes on TikTok. As a reminder, like Jen said, on TikTok, I accidentally closed the window that shows me the gifting on TikTok, but just make sure you're gifting on TikTok. That keeps us alive over there, and it helps us. Like, if you're over on TikTok and not on YouTube and Twitch, we don't benefit anything from that. And so if you are over there, make sure you're gifting. It keeps our HR guy there. And if not, you can come over to YouTube where we get paid per view. Let's jump right into it today. Harry Enton, everybody's favorite pollster, is on CNN updating Trump's current numbers. And you'll see a pattern with Trump's numbers. Now, Q in the chat, everybody going, CNN fake news. Here is Trump's current poll numbers.
So the president says things are great. What do the voters say?
No. I think it's the.
Sorry, I have to do that. No, see, I keep hearing MAGA use Dunning-Kruger more and more, and it's wild. You know damn well they don't know what they're talking about. No, this is what they do every fucking time. Republicans just, they get accused of something that they don't know anything about. Like, none of them have ever looked at Dunning-Kruger. And then it's used against them, and then they use it against somebody else, and they use it incorrectly. They do it all the time. It's actually, HVAC used to do this all the time. Back when Felice and I worked together, we would laugh about it, where we would say something on our show, and then later in the day, we would hear HVAC like saying the exact wording from our show, but to argue the opposite point. 100% Namaste. That's 100% what they do.
Answer, 6 months in, the rules of political gravity absolutely apply to Donald Trump, and the USS Donald Trump is taking on a lot of water. What are we talking about? Trump's net approval rating. Look, he started off back in January +6 points on the net approval rating, -3 in March, -7 in May, and now he's at a term too low at -11 points. His net approval rating has dropped nearly 20 points in the aggregate since the beginning of his presidency. The American people do not like what they're seeing, and Donald Trump's administration is in a ton of trouble at this.
Just looking at these numbers, like this is why I said that it's important. January is +6. Obviously, he hasn't done anything yet. I don't see the February. There's no February numbers here. Maybe they don't have them. But let's just assume that February has the same like spread here. That would mean by February, a month in, he would have dropped to like +1 or +2. And then he's at -3. So he's dropping like 4 to 5 points per month. And this is again, his new low, 11 points. This is on the heels of what's about to happen. And this is something I hope that you guys will engage with, not just me, but other political content creators. The plan for Republicans right now, they see this number. They know the Epstein stuff is absolutely killing them. They know the tariff stuff isn't helping much. Like, you got to remember, this March and May, this was about tariffs. This was about deportation. So that hasn't been working. Literally everything they're doing isn't working, and the country is turning on them. So what they're trying to do, I think, is the reason that they're taking off early is because there's all this negative press about them, and they have to go out and answer that negative press, and they can't do it. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to defend any of this shit? How are you going to defend Trump's tariff policy? It has made no sense at all. Nobody even if I brought up anybody, I don't care how knowledgeable you are, and I started asking you where like the tariffs were, like what the tariff numbers were on each country. Nobody knows. It's so confusing because he changes it all the time. I think they want this break, and I think they're all going to go radio silent for like 5 weeks, and they're not going to respond to any of this stuff. And this is one of those places where those who are not fascist, those who are anti-fascist, you can call yourself Antifa if you want. This is the time like you have to keep your foot on the gas. It's going to be easy, and you're going to see a lot of content creators, like established ones that have an audience and have a base. A lot of those people are going to take time off during this window, and they've probably deserved that right. But that doesn't mean that we should disengage. We have to keep the pressure on with MAGA. We need to make them answer these questions, because without their leaders going out and directing the message, it's going to be really hard to have like a coherent thought process. This is essentially going to boil down to one person giving all the messaging, and that's going to be Trump. Trump's not going to take a break, but everybody else in Congress is. And it's really, really important that we continue to cover Trump during all of this. And it's really important that for your Republican friends that you keep the pressure on, because it's crumbling. This is all falling apart. And then Democrats need to recognize the voices that are effective here. During this break, I would hope that Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries, I hope they all shut the fuck up for the whole time. Go away. You guys go away. We don't need any more of you. We don't need any more of you APACers. Go out there, do your fundraising, stay out of the public spotlight. We don't want to hear from you. We want to hear from Bernie Sanders. We want to hear from AOC. We want to hear from Pete Buttigieg. We want to hear from Talarico. And frankly, right now, we kind of want to hear from Newsom too. There's some people that have a good voice right now and who are doing a good job exposing the corruption and the direction that this administration wants to take us to, which is fascism. It shouldn't really be that surprising that on Jubilee's episode that they did with Mehdi Hassan, that these folks are so willing to be openly fascistic. It's because right now they feel enabled, and they're enabled by 70+ million people who voted for Donald Trump, who they believe are in the same boat as them. They believe that all Republicans are like schmazzies, and all Republicans are going to go along with fascism or autocracy. And it's important to keep the gas down there, especially at a time when they're not going to have a lot of backup.
At this point in the minds of the American voters.
Well, on what issues do the American voters seem to disapprove of him?
They disapprove of him on all of the issues. He's
oh, shit. That's bad. Listen, that's bad. If they disagree with you on everything, that's bad. There's not like a coherent through line from the Republicans right now. There's nothing that they can do to unite. Everything they've tried, you can't unite around Israel. You can't unite around the Epstein stuff. You can't unite around immigration, foreign policy, economy, nothing. There's nothing you can unite the Republican people around right now. And this is what happened to the Democrats. This is why their approval ratings like in the 20s. I think it dropped to 19 or 17. I think it's back into the 20s. But this is what happened. There was like no coherent message that anybody could like grasp onto, and you could create unity. That's what's happening right now. It's also what happened the first time Trump was president. It is remarkable to me how lazy and how short the memories are of Americans, because this is exactly what happened to Trump the first time. He made all these promises, and then he got in, and they're like, "Oh, he's not doing anything," and then he left because he lost. I don't know if you guys remember that. And then he came back and made promises again, and there's all these new voices like, "Oh, this time he's going to keep his promises."
The major issues of the day, Trump's net approval rating on all the major issues, -5 points on immigration, his best issue. He's underwater. How about the economy? That was what he was elected for. -14 points. How about foreign policy? -14 points. How about trade and those tariff wars? -15 points. And of course, the Epstein case, the lowest of the bunch, -37 points. 37 points.
Hey, Thomas, nobody's talking to you. We know you don't trust CNN. You don't trust anything but Donald Trump. We already know that. You don't need to tell everybody here that you're just a bootlicker. This is Enton's aggregate. So this isn't CNN polling. This is aggregate polling from all the pollsters. So just so you're clear.
Points below water. My goodness gracious. On every single issue, Donald Trump is below water on all the major ones. They're all dragging him down. No matter, it seems, what Donald Trump does, the American people do not like it. And that is why at this particular point, he's at a term too low.
It's interesting.
I love it. I love the MAGA here. Like, this is keep talking, MAGA. Keep doing that. He's kept all his promises. Oh, yeah? What's happening to his poll numbers then? What's happening to all these people who supported him? What's going on with all these podcasters like Theo Vaughn and Joe Rogan and Andrew? What's his name? Andrew whatever. What's happening to all them? The Nelk Boys tried to run. I'll show this in a minute. The Nelk Boys tried to run interference for Netanyahu. They had him on. They're getting absolutely eviscerated right now. You've lost staples of your movement. You've lost Candace Owens. You've lost Dave Smith. You're bleeding support right now, and you're like, this is what we voted for. It might be what you voted for, but unfortunately, the rest of America is saying no thanks.
This is the issue that may be on the top of many people's minds as members of Congress head home for this extended summer recess.
And it's his worst one.
I'm not sure that House members will be excited to see that number as they leave Washington today. So where does his overall approval rating stand compared to other presidents?
Okay, I do have one piece of good news for Donald Trump, and that there is one other presidency that has a lower net approval rating at this point than this one. The bad news is that it was Donald Trump's other presidency, his first presidency, net approval rating 6 months in. The worst was in 2017. Donald Trump was 16 points underwater. The second worst, however, is this Donald Trump presidency, 11 points underwater. The average president at this point since 1953 has a +27 net approval rating. John, do some quick math with me. It seems to me that Donald Trump is about 40 points lower than the average president at this particular point. He has the second worst net approval rating at this point. He is underwater on all the major issues of the day. The bottom line is 6 months into this administration, I think that most Americans would apply the word or words disaster, terrible, awful, horrible. I think that is the way that the American people would see it at this particular point. He is so far below underwater compared to the average president. The only one he beats out is him in term number one. And I don't think that's exactly the metric he wants to be applying to himself.
It'll be interesting to see when Harry Enton pulls the numbers for the midterms. The last we checked, like, Republicans were holding on to a slim advantage, and I can only imagine that in blue or purple states that's going to be really, really difficult to hold on to that. Check Jen's messages here. Pink says that Mary Banish conversation made me a bit uncomfortable, but I got some good clips that I definitely won't be making my alarm tone. Renee said because Jen said Jay is a pussy, and darn it, bring back Admir date night. Robert said for the weenie hat boy. Oh, that's Brother Bob for the weenie hat boy. And Pink said sorry, meant Banish, not the K word. That's all right. You can say it in those in the Venmos. That's fine. Thanks, Rob and Rob, the American Patriot. It's good to have you guys here. Once again, a reminder for any of the Republicans in the chat, you are welcome to come out of the chat and talk to us. If you look at that Venmo username, that's also Jen's Discord username. You can add her on Discord and message her, and she'll bring you up here. This was cool. I'm going to play some James Talarico stuff here in a in a few more minutes. But James Talarico is a Democratic congressman in Texas, a state congressman, and he's exposing what Texas is doing. And he lays out here exactly the type of corruption that we're worried about. If Texas it was looking at their state and they were saying the representation is off, there's way more Republicans than we thought, and there's not enough Republicans representing them, that would be one thing. But if you look at the data moving from now 20 years backwards, the Texas voter base has become more and more purple. Like it's moving closer to purple every election. The Senate races have gotten closer. The governor races have gotten closer. This isn't a state that has gone more red. This is a state that has gone more blue. It's still red. It's still pretty solidly red, but it's gone more blue. So when the folks in Texas start telling you that we're going to redraw maps and give Republicans 5 more seats in Congress, you know what they're doing. You know exactly what they're doing. Because there's no data on earth that says that they have picked up more Republican voters. And here's Talarico explaining what's happening in Texas.
Clear about what's happening. Donald Trump is attempting to rig the next election. He and his allies in Congress just passed the largest transfer of wealth in American history with their big, beautiful bill. They're literally kicking millions of people off their health care to fund tax cuts for billionaires. And they know it's unpopular, but they don't care.
Sorry, before we get to that, Brianna said if you... Jesus. All right. If you angrily masturbate to a picture of another guy's money... and finish in your mouth, you've committed all 7 deadly sins. I wasn't prepared for that, Brianna. I was not ready for that. What the fuck? And then Swish said, daily reminder, fuck Aaron Rodgers. Jessica said, thank you again for yesterday's episode. Yeah, reminder, yesterday's episode was a deep dive. We did about 3.5 hours on the origins of the Russia non-hoax. If you missed it, you can catch that replay on YouTube, and you can watch it at like 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed. You can pick it up. Facts still matter, my old friend. Good to see you. For question 1 on MAGA application, are you a schmatzi? I think an alarming number of people would say, yeah.
Because they have a plan. Donald Trump just called Governor Abbott and told him to redraw the political maps in Texas to gain 5 more Republican seats so they can protect their majority no matter what the election outcomes are. I mean, this is the rot at the core of our broken political system. Politicians choosing their...
Gabrielle, Biden administration sued Texas for the last redistricting. Now y'all are crying because Texas agreed and Trump is on board. Yeah, the Biden administration sued them and fucking won because they were gerrymandering, because they were cheating. Yeah, the Biden administration sued them for cheating. Trump's not suing them. Trump is calling them and saying, do it and we won't get in the way. Go ahead and cheat. Don't worry. We're not going to get in the way here. And I think my Supreme Court will back you up. Jen?
Just wanted to thank the Tommy, my dude, read.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I'm not seeing the Twitch comments. Maybe.
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok, right. Oh, Tommy, welcome everybody over from Tommy, from my dude. I don't have the TikTok chat up here either. It's not loading in. I don't know why. So sorry, I'm not seeing your comments over on TikTok. But welcome everybody from the My Dude Raid. Tommy, tell Tommy I love him. Tommy, I hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you in a while. And back to James Talarico here.
Voters instead of voters picking their politicians. In any other industry, this would be called a conflict of interest. And so Democrats here in Texas are going to do everything we can to stop this power grab, because if it happens here in Texas, they're going to do it in every red state across the country. They're going to rig the 2026 midterms. We're obviously in the minority here in Texas. We've been in the minority for about 30 years, so we've learned how to use every tool in our toolbox to fight for people and deliver for people. So we have the rules. We can use the rules to figure out how to slow things down and how to kill bad bills. We can use our platforms to organize people like we're doing out here in Plano. We can also deny quorum because they need all the Democrats to show up to be able to conduct business. We did that.
I think that's what happened. Oh, he's probably going to say that. I think that's what happened last time. The Democrats just left. They're like, you don't have a quorum, so we got to get out of here. And that's. I mean, there's limited options for Democrats, and this is why we were afraid of this version of Republicans. This is why we were afraid of Project 2025, because the Constitution relies on people acting in good faith. And what Republicans are doing now is trying to seize power and take control and be overrepresented. I don't think that's what our founding fathers had in mind. Are you guys saying, the Republicans that are here, are you saying that this is what our founding fathers had in mind? That when we had a representative government, that then you could just like change the boundaries and move things around to make sure one party remained in power? Do you think that was their intent? Or do you think it's possible that Republicans are bastardizing the system and acting not in good faith so that they can keep power? I mean, for fuck's sakes, Mike Johnson just said, Congress, go home, because they don't want to release the Epstein files. This is why you guys are losing. This is why you're getting killed in the polls. This is why you've lost every special election since then. It's not even because Democrats are doing a good job. Frankly, they suck. They're literally just like, it sucks saying Chuck Schumer might be right, but like, sitting around doing absolutely not a goddamn thing is somehow a better option than what the Republicans are doing.
In 2021 to stop their voter suppression bill. And so these tactics are all things that we can use and employ to try to prevent this power grab from actually happening. And so I'm going to be talking to my colleagues here at the state capitol and figuring out what tools we can use to fight for people and protect this democracy.
James, I'll have more on James Talarico here later because he killed it on Joe Rogan, and we're finally going to get to it. This is first of all, fuck Stephen A. Smith. Before Stephen A. Smith tried to get into politics, which he's not very good at, Stephen A. Smith is lazy. And if anybody who has watched sports or watched ESPN for years, you know that what Stephen A. Smith does is he picks a position and then he just tries to use his own common sense to argue for it. He's got on Andrew Cuomo here, and Andrew Cuomo is going to tell you why he lost the Democratic primary to Mamdani, and you're going to see why Democrats suck. People like Cuomo, who are in power, that are very similar to Schumer, they don't know why they're losing. They have no fucking clue why they're losing, and they think that they actually have a winning message if just enough people heard their winning message. The reality is, like, the Democrats' message literally appeals to nobody. Andrew Cuomo doesn't appeal to anybody except for like scared boomers that also like are moderate socially. That's it. He speaks to people who would be Republican if Republicans weren't so bigoted. But every other view they share with Republicans, that is a shrinking number of people that you can speak to.
Mamdani in the Democratic primaries.
I made mistakes in the campaign.
Thanks, Valerie. And Jody said, I finally finished watching Jubilee debate with Mehdi Hassan this morning. Crazy.
I didn't focus enough on the under 30 vote. I didn't do enough on social media. And that under 30 vote, Stephen A., exploded in the primary.
Why? Let's see if he knows why.
And in many ways, it's a microcosm of what's going on nationwide. You have an extreme right MAGA vote, and the
we saw the extreme right. The extreme right MAGA vote is ethno-states. It's fascism. It's treating immigrants as second-class citizens. It's attacking trans people. It's anti-democracy. It's full dictatorship. That's the extreme right.
Action on the Democratic side has been an extreme left.
And Mamdani, the extreme leftist, is stop murdering innocent people in Palestine. If there are food deserts, maybe the government steps in to make sure that people in poorer communities have access to groceries and a more fair tax system. You can call it extreme if you want to, but like I just don't think the American people are going to be persuaded to believe that Mamdani is extreme, except for the fact that he's Muslim, and we still have some anti-Islamic hatred here. For the record, I don't like Islam. I don't like that religion. I think that many of the views of that religion I disagree with strongly. I also don't like Catholics. I also don't like Mormons or Christians. I don't like any religion. But to call Mamdani an extremist because he is Islamic makes no fucking sense unless you're just going to call every religious person an extremist, right? Like, he doesn't represent the extremist Muslims. He doesn't act like an extremist Muslim. No more than most of you here in this audience. I'd imagine like more than 50% of you are Christian. Most of you aren't extremists. Most of you aren't out there like firebombing abortion clinics. Most of you guys aren't out there advocating for no fault, getting rid of no fault divorces and forcing women to carry their father's babies or forcing children to carry their babies to term. Most of you aren't like that, right? So you're not extremist. But the thing that Cuomo doesn't realize here is these are not extremist views. You can't tell me that the people under 30 are extremists. They're not. They're looking at the world around them and they're going, all right, look, this is hard. I was reading a stat today. I don't even remember, or listening to a stat. I don't remember if it's even on the show today, but the average median age 20 years ago to purchase a house was 27 years old. It's 38 now. So they're just staring reality in the face. Now, or that's for first-time home buyers. The average age for a home buyer in general now is 58. It is not extreme to say, okay, some people, a handful of people seem to have all of the wealth, and the rest of us are looking at a future that is increasingly bleak. It doesn't look better for us. I mean, you all feel that same thing. Whatever you're making at your job, if you're looking at the future, if you say 10 years from now, how is this amount of money going to pay for my bills? Am I going to live the same lifestyle I have now? No. And then you have to ask yourself, like, will my wages increase above inflation? Probably not. Most people's wages don't increase above inflation. So most of you are staring at a future where whatever you're making now won't be enough to sustain you in the future, and you're looking at a future where your wages won't grow at that rate. I think the average like person under 40 is carrying something like $7,000 in credit card debt right now. That means you're paying 20% interest on your debt. So that's an additional expense that you pay. Why? Because you just can't quite pay your bills, or you had some downtime. And this is a reality for millions of Americans. Millions of Americans either have an emergency, or they decide to take a vacation, or they lose a job, or they have to get a new car. Any number of things can come up, and they don't have the money to pay for it, but they have decent credit, so they put it on a credit card. But they already are living paycheck to paycheck. So every time they pay that credit card bill, they're hitting a minimum payment. And they're just paying 20% interest on that forever in perpetuity. Think of the amount of Americans that currently are paying for something that they bought 20 months ago, or 30 months ago, or 40 months ago. That's an astounding number. They're paying 20% interest on that over and over and over again. I just booked a flight. I generally fly on American Airlines. And there's now an option on American Airlines to finance your flight through a firm, which is, I think it's something like 8% interest or something like that. So now there's options, and there's like 6 month, 12 month, 18 month, 2 years. You can take out a 2-year loan to pay for a flight. The capitalists have, like, why would they want that to change? Why would they want any of that to change? Why would they support more income for people when they generate billions of dollars off of interest payments from credit cards? That's what Cuomo doesn't understand. It's not about extremism. It's about, you don't have a message that works for anybody. You think status quo shit is going to work. In New York, we're going to keep things the same. We're going to crack down on crime. Okay, will that help me pay my bills? No. And by the way, I've a handful of family members in New York. I have friends in New York. I have friends in LA. This line from Republicans that these are hellholes, like crime-ridden hellholes, just isn't backed by data. The crime rate in LA is dropping. The crime rate in New York is dropping. We're at near historic lows. So when they go out there and they try and scare you, this is just politics as usual. This is a rich guy who doesn't live in reality. The reality is he may not even know he's lying to you about crime in New York. He doesn't interact with it. He doesn't interact with daily or everyday regular people. He's got armed security all the time. He lives in a penthouse. The reality is that he's being fed this information from his political advisors and telling him, go out and scare the people because you don't have anything else to offer them. And Mamdani's like, fuck that. I'm going to go walk through the city. I'm going to campaign by walking through the city. I'm going to meet people where they are, and I'm going to talk to them about the issues that actually affect them. And when I talk to them and they tell me, like, I can't afford food, I'm going to offer a solution where the government may run grocery stores in their neighborhood, and you're not going to have to pay for the private jet of the Kroger CEO. It's going to be revenue neutral, and it's going to provide jobs, it's going to provide food, and it's going to be cheaper. That resonates. They don't fucking, the average person's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. You're telling me when I go in and I buy tomatoes that no CEO is going to make money for that? I'm not on board with that.
Move on the Democratic side. I don't think either extreme is helpful or actually productive. But on the Democratic side, you have this extreme left socialist movement, very attractive to the under 30 crowd. And he energized that. I wasn't speaking to it enough. They are anti-Israel for the most part.
This shit isn't working anymore, by the way. The anti-Israel shit, that doesn't work. The anti-Israel shit worked like on October 7th, and it worked for like a couple months after that. But slowly that's eroded because at this point, nobody, like I still have yet to meet somebody, and I know that these people exist, but I've yet to meet them that are like pro H group. We just like, our feeds are full of starving and dead children. I'm sorry. Like if you're the person that is responsible for that, if you're the country that's responsible for that, and there are obvious ways that you could avoid that, it's not anti-Israel to say that. It is anti-genocide, G-side. I guess maybe I'm not allowed to say that now that we're on TikTok today. That none of this works. He's got to get different political advisors, but this is the same. If you didn't know he was a Democrat, wouldn't you all think this was a Republican? Wouldn't you all think this was just like some random Republican congressman? That's what he sounds like. That's why it's not working.
I am pro-Israel, and that was an aggravating factor. But that's where I lost the race. The under 30 voted in historic proportions. Voters who had never voted in a primary before showed up and voted at 3 times the rate of everyone else.
With that being said, Andrew Cuomo, I'm sitting back and I'm listening to you right now, and I'm saying to myself, this is a 3-term governor. If it wasn't for the scandal that rocked your administration and led to you departing from office, you would have been a 4-term governor. You know this game. How is stuff like social media and younger voters, how did that escape you? How did that happen?
Well, yeah. First of all,
the thing is I think because I'm rich and I've been powerful that people just were going to like my messaging and they were going to trust me, and they didn't. Betsy said towards the goal, great show as usual. Thank you, Betsy. Ortiz says, go Chiefs, holla. All right, bang, bang, Niner gang, take that.
Morning quarterbacking is easy, right? If I get to replay the game, the Pacers are going to beat Thunder, right? On Monday morning.
Fair.
The under 30 vote was really an historic explosion. And in retrospect, I didn't pay enough attention to it. Now, he is also 33 years old. He had a natural attraction with the younger generation. I get all of that. But it was, the vote was unprecedented. And it was 105 degrees, and a lot of my vote didn't come out because it was 105 degrees.
Because they're old. Because they're fossils. That's about enough of that. I just wanted to point out that this guy's no clue. And by the way, I think they may have to rally around him. I think Republicans, that might be the person that you have to rally around in New York City. I don't know if rallying around Eric Adams is going to work. We'll see. He's trying to contend. He's trying to take the Eric Adams coalition and then the Cuomo coalition and merge them together. I think this is impossible for Republicans. I don't think there was any real chance they were going to win anyways. But good luck convincing Republicans that the guy that they spent years criticizing during COVID for his historic mismanagement, good luck convincing Republicans to vote for that guy. And on the other side, you have Eric Adams, who also not a Republican also has conflicting views. Oh, and by the way, he's also corrupt, which may, now that I think of it, that might be a benefit for Republicans. That might actually push more Republicans to the polls. CNN put together this montage of Howard Lutnick that I loved yesterday. Howard Lutnick is, I've said it before, I don't understand what he's doing. I have no fucking clue what a Howard Lutnick is, what drives Howard Lutnick. He seems to just stand around Trump and laugh at all of his jokes. I honestly, I don't know what's in this for him, but here's Howard Lutnick doing the Trump taco trade shit where he tells you that these trade deals are right around the corner. And there's been so much going on with Epstein that I think we've forgotten that Donald Trump is getting absolutely dick kicked every 5 seconds by virtually every country in the world in trade. They do not care. They're not afraid of him. And let's just talk reality for a second. The United States owes a ton of money to China and to Japan. And there is, I don't remember who it was. There's a Republican that, you know what I do remember? It was Hoodie on TikTok. I'm going to give Hoodie a little bit of credit because he said something to me that I hadn't really thought about. And since then, I've thought a lot about it. But Hoodie said that what he thinks Trump and these folks are doing, and the reason that it seems like they don't have a plan, is what they're attempting to do is devalue the dollar so that the payment amounts that we send out to China and Japan are less, right? Just if you devalue the dollar, technically, like you're not spending as much of your wealth. The reality is, look at our economy and look at where America is positioned. America is positioned with $37 trillion in debt and more debt incoming. We are a service economy. We make absolutely nothing at this point. If we were to bring back manufacturing, it's going to take over a decade to bring back that manufacturing. The service economy is part of the tech bubble, and that is on the verge of bursting. Within the next year or two, you're going to see the continuation of these tech companies falling. Giant monopolies will then gather up the remains of those companies, and they'll take over. But you're going to see a lot of companies fail. The United States legitimately doesn't have a lot to offer the world outside of fear. We have a massive military, and we can use our military might. I do agree with Hoodie that this is what the Trump administration is doing, but the reason that they're doing this is because they're protecting rich folks. When it all comes crashing down, and it will, like our economy is going to tank, and I don't think it's like World War III. I don't think it's the end of the world. These folks that gave Donald Trump millions of dollars will be positioned to maintain their power and then cultivate more resources. Remember, to most of these people, to Elon Musk, to Jeff Bezos, most of their net worth isn't liquid. It's in value. It's because the stock price of, say, Tesla, like Tesla's the perfect example. The stock price in the stock price of Tesla makes no fucking sense. They barely make a profit, and most of their profit comes from the government giving them subsidies. They're not nearly as profitable as GM or Ford, and yet their stock price is 20x the stock price of GM and Ford. They're not operating on normal principles. The reason their stock price is so high is their investors are also invested in other inflated tech companies, and the inflated value rises collectively. Because it's many of the same investors and they're entering and exiting, it raises their value, but they aren't liquid. So when this crashes and when their stock prices crash, they need to be protected because Republicans, before anything, I have no confidence. I don't know what happened to Republicans, but somewhere along the way, you allowed your party to tell you that education was stupid and that you shouldn't be educated and that you shouldn't follow along this stuff and that education actually is kind of a waste of time. And then they convinced you that these billionaires somehow were good for you, that they were making your life better and that they must exist and that your job is to advocate for policies that benefit them. And when it comes crashing down again, you will have learned nothing from 2009. The average American person will suffer greatly, and the wealthiest among us will become more wealthy by percentage. Now, they will lose a percentage of their money, but it doesn't matter to them, right? Like the leverage stays the same because their percentage of wealth will grow. The overall wealth, the total number of wealth will drop, and their percentage of wealth will grow. That's how crony capitalism in the United States economy works. You inflate it, and then you have to crash it. It has to crash. So when we show these videos of Howard Lutnick, And you ask yourself why a guy like Howard Lutnick is willing to go out on TV every day and embarrass himself. It's because he knows this, and he's just trying to sell it as long as he can. That's all they're trying to do, is they're just trying to extend this out as long as they possibly can to protect themselves and their friends and position themselves in a place where they can overcome the economic collapse. That's why they're also investing in crypto, because they're not going to be taxed on crypto. They can hide some of their wealth. Other companies or other countries prop up that crypto. That's why you see this heavy investment. This is just another way for them to mitigate their risk. They may invest in resources and cryptocurrency. But that's why I think Howard Lutnick is out here willing to just be this embarrassing. This is a montage from all of his time in office, consistently talking about, in a week or two, we're going to announce something. FOD said, in my opinion, if the value of the dollar goes down, the way we safeguard our position is to keep BRICS on their heels. Very glad you mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious Trump's going after BRICS right now, FOD. I agree with you. Like this tariff war that he's doing on Brazil right now, I think it's twofold. I think the headline story is like Bolsonaro is his friend and it's a witch hunt and Trump wants Bolsonaro in power. But the secondary part of that is, why does he want Bolsonaro in power? Because Bolsonaro wants to align with the United States and Brazil doesn't want to align with the United States. At least the voters didn't. They would rather align themselves with more stable partners. Like it or not, we're the crazy person. United States is a crazy person. We are a crazy rich person. We're the kind of person that's like kind of fun for a minute, but then like you get around that person, you're like, they got some problems. They've got some real problems. They are bipolar. You can never figure out what they're going to do. There's no rhyme or reason to why the United States does a lot of things. So if I'm Brazil or if I'm any of these other countries around the world and I'm looking at like, can I trade with China or can I trade with America? And if it's sixes and it doesn't benefit me one way or the other, I'm going to go with China. At the very least, they're stable and they're reliable. The United States is not a stable, reliable partner. And so Trump is trying to force his way and get people like Bolsonaro, who's a criminal, to be put back in office. And I think it's very clear what's going on here. The world is preparing for the United States to no longer be the financial superpower. That's what they all think is going to happen. And I think that too. I hate to make a prediction because things could change. But if I'm betting, which I used to be a professional gambler, that's what I did, the odds of Donald Trump and this group of people getting this right are the odds on that are sky high. It is a risky bet to bet on the United States right now with Donald Trump at the helm and people like Lutnick.
You're going to see over the next month or so, we're going to roll out dozens of deals. Oh, there are so many coming, and you're going to see deal after deal. This is going to start coming next week and the week after and the week after. We've got lots of them in the hopper. We're going to announce a whole bunch of deals over the next week or so.
Are you confident we can get these the big ones, the big deals done?
I have them done. The next 2 weeks are going to be weeks for the record books.
That was just a couple days ago. So far, only 4 trade agreements have been announced.
So who was that? Jim said some analysis point to a potential loss of around 25,000 jobs in the UK car manufacturing industry. Jaguar Land Rover has already announced the loss of 500 management jobs due to reduced sales linked, I assume, to the tariffs, is what you're saying there, Jim. I appreciate that. But Jim, let's talk about that, Jim. Let's just be honest. I think you bring up a good point. Our retaliatory tariffs do hurt industries in other countries. But now if you're another country, and you're like, the United States is going to slap tariffs on us for the fuck of it, why would you want to continue to trade with them? Yes, tariffs hurt other countries, but they're not benefiting us. That's the problem. And what this is doing is it's going to drive Jaguar and Land Rover to be like, yeah, you know what? We need to sell to somebody else, or maybe luxury automobiles aren't the thing right now. Maybe that's not it. But I don't think that talking about Land Rover, who isn't Land Rover owned by Toyota? Am I wrong about that? Is that Range Rover? Isn't one of them owned by Toyota? I don't think that that's a good measure. I do believe that we have hurt some industries around the world, but hurting an industry is not a good argument, Jim. Saying that like, oh, look at the damage that we've done to these industries. Yeah, that's why they fucking hate us, dude. That's what. There's no fucking reason for us to be slapping tariffs on most of this stuff. Tariffs should be targeted, and when we do targeted tariffs, other countries don't get upset. Like there was no real big retaliation from China that hurt us when we slapped 100% tariffs on their electric vehicles. China knew it was coming. China knew that we were going to protect Tesla. China knew that we were going to protect Ford and GM from their superior cars coming into our country. They were aware of that. That's why they weren't heavily like even planning on that. That's why they went to Mexico. That's why they went over to the Middle East. That's why they went into the UK. It was never our market. That's why they make vehicles that don't really fit our market. Those type of tariffs you can do, and if they're not retaliatory, and if they make sense, our trading partners don't get upset about that. They understand it because they do tariffs too. They put tariffs on things so that their local economies don't get suffocated. Tariffs aren't the problem. It's the application of the tariffs. And we are bleeding trade partners, whether you like it or not. Before Donald Trump, pre-2016, we were basically like a majority of the world's trading partner. We owned a majority of the trading partnerships. Now we are not a majority trader with most countries. China and India have come in and they have undercut us all along the way. And in some places they don't even undercut us because our tariffs are so harsh and our sanctions are so harsh that China has been able to come in with either the same prices or higher prices, and those countries are choosing to do business with China. And frankly, like this is all in a self-inflicted wound. Everybody knows the problems with dealing with China. Everybody knows the issues that China has. Everybody knows, at least historically, like the way that China has treated workers, and people have a reason to not do business with China on a personal level. So they're willing to ignore that personal level to do business with China because that's how fucking shitty it is to do business with the United States of America. And if you think this is unusual, just like nobody works with Donald Trump. Fucking nobody. Donald Trump got in the real estate business that his dad handed to him. And by the time he was done with real estate, all he can do is licensing deals. Nobody will give him a loan. Nobody wants to work on a project with him. Nobody will do real estate deals with him. Donald Trump got in the golf industry, and within less than 10 years, there is not a single golf designer who will work with him. And that matters. If you don't know much about the golf industry, one thing you should know is the person who designed your course matters. If you have a course, like, for example, there's a course around the street, around the corner from me. It's called Red Mountain. I think it's called Red Mountain Ranch now. And it's not a very good course. And it used to be a private course. Now it's a public course, and they bleed money. The conditions are never very, very good. But they always have people willing to go and play there. Why? Because it says Pete Dye. Pete Dye is one of the most renowned golf course designers in the world. He designed Sawgrass, TPC Sawgrass. He designed PGA West. Some of the most famous golf courses in the world, Pete Dye designed. He didn't even design this one. It was just his company. But because it has the name Pete Dye attached to it, people still go. And they will pay more to play at that golf course than there's another course just down the street called Longbow that for a long time, Longbow couldn't get the traffic of Red Mountain just because of the name Pete Dye. It matters that much. Pete Dye won't do work with Donald Trump. His group won't do work with Donald Trump. No designer will, because he fucks them over every single time. This is how Trump does business. He goes in, he says that he's cutthroat, but really what he does is he screws all of his trading partners, and he thinks that they're just going to be okay with him winning and them losing, and he looks at it that way. There's no such thing as a win-win with Donald Trump. It's I win, you lose. That's how he negotiates, and that's why nobody wants to negotiate with us right now. That's why we don't have trade deals. When Donald Trump called and said, everybody's calling me and begging me to do business, and then you check with all those countries, like, no, we didn't. Yeah, none of us did that. We didn't do anything. So now they won't talk to him at all. So he had to send them letters. They won't even take his phone call. He just wrote out letters. He's like, oh, here's your tariffs. He's a bad trading partner. He's a bad representative for you. He will make your life more expensive. He will make the global economy less open to the United States. He's killing tourism. Nobody wants to come here now. Tons of countries. He's causing problems for Americans in Mexico. Like it's not significant, and I know that it's overblown, and I think it's a lot of lefties like showing videos of shit that they want to say, like, oh, look, Mexico's the same, or Mexico's reacting to Trump, and then right wingers are like, look, Mexico's just the same as us. Nobody wants anybody from another country, but that's not the reality. The reality is that people don't like us, and that matters. Whether you like it or not, it fucking matters if our trading partners like us, especially with emerging powers coming out of Africa, coming out of India, coming out of China, Japan. All these other countries are light years ahead of us, and other countries are developing, and they're taking the places where we used to have a foothold. We're in real trouble. We're in real trouble if we can't figure out how to make our service economy work across the world. We're in real trouble, and we have the worst possible negotiator we possibly could have at the helm, where he's trying to bully them, and they're telling him to get fucked because it's beneficial for them. If they can survive without the United States, that's beneficial for them. They've been bullied by the United States forever. We've overused our leverage. You can see the change in tone. One of the interesting developments over this last week, and I've mentioned this a few times, was Dave Smith going to meet with Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk tried really hard, and Charlie Kirk found out the hard way that Donald Trump is unpopular now. And Charlie Kirk tried to say, like, I trust the government. I trust them when they tell me about Jeffrey Epstein, and it backfired. So he's like, I'm done talking about it. The next day he had to talk about it. And Dave Smith's going to go over some of those reasons why organizations like Turning Point USA, who are pro-Trump, are doing poorly. Johnny said, did you see my galaxy on TikTok last week? No, Johnny, when I stream from Streamlabs, it doesn't show me those GIFs, which sucks. I wish there was a different way to do it, but I can't just stream on TikTok because I get banned too often. Let me check comments real quick before we go. Jen, do you want to actually do announcements before I go to Dave Smith here? Izzy, thank you for joining the Dollar Train as well. Jen might not be here.
So I was doing a little math, which I hate math. I don't know if you know that. Math is stupid. It's not one of the things I'm great at. Looks like to hit our gift goal, we need to do $60 every 30 minutes. So no pressure.
It's good math.
But yeah, I was doing that. Oh, I see. Oh. Bye, Vance Musk. One of the weirdos on YouTube was back, and now he's gone. Anyway, so yeah, that's the math we need to do. $60 every 30 minutes, so that Jay doesn't come off as a big old weenie again. So that's, if you guys could help us do that, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out the rest of that gift goal. If you haven't subscribed to us already, you can please do so. You can do it wherever you're watching. We do member-only events. Sorry, someone in Twitch. Yes, everyone, math is stupid. So $30 every 15 minutes, I guess, works too. It's just, anyway. So please subscribe if you haven't already. On Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. On YouTube, we have 4 different memberships, or you could subscribe for free, but that would qualify you for any member-only events. We're also check out the link tree in our bio. We're on most social media platforms. Jay is on Cameo. We upload all these episodes to Spotify, and we have merch. So, are you wearing? Yeah, Jay's wearing our muted hoodie. So that's one. Do you want to show off our muted hoodie? I'm talking to you, people.
Yeah. Oh, you can't see me. Oh, sorry. I was showing it off. I just wasn't saying any words. I was showing it. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't shown well. So.
Oh, sorry. Is that better? I can move.
Better. I was just expecting a little bit more of enthusiasm. I was just disappointed with the lack of energy.
Sorry, my bad. I was reading something.
Yes, I know. So. So, okay. Yep. So subscribe. We're on most social media platforms. We're on Twitch. So yeah, but Coldplay hasn't released a new song in years.
Yeah.
Then they make two new singles in one night.
I didn't know we hated Coldplay. I didn't know that. I didn't know Coldplay was like on the Nickelback. I'm gonna just be honest. I like Coldplay. I don't have a problem with Coldplay.
I didn't know that either. Is Coldplay in the Nickelback realm? I didn't know that.
I think there's a lot of people that are like, what's worse, being caught cheating or being caught being a Coldplay fan? And there was, I think a lot of people would say Coldplay. I don't know, maybe I'm old. I like Coldplay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, didn't know that either. So.
All right.
Yeah, there it is.
Johnny, I saw you. I understand you're saying, Johnny, I can't see your TikTok, and it doesn't even show me that one was sent, or the Galaxy, so I can't even point it out, Johnny. I apologize. There's just no breakdown like that. TikTok doesn't give me a breakdown like that, so I apologize. I wish they did. All right, here is somebody got mad, said I lied about Charlie Kirk. I don't know what you think I lied about Charlie Kirk about. Did Charlie Kirk say that he was going to stop talking about Epstein because he trusted his friends in the government, and then and he said that on Friday, and then on Monday he was back to talking about Epstein? Is that a lie, or is he talking about Epstein? Because I'm pretty sure that happened. I don't know if he's still doing it, but he definitely said on Friday, I'm not talking about this shit anymore, and on Monday he was talking about this shit again. So
you support what Israel's doing in Gaza right now. I would just, like, my advice to you guys is just know that you never have a leg to stand on claiming to be pro-life for the rest of your life. Just saying that. If you... Oh, so it's okay to support
Let's not boo our speaker,
It's okay to support a policy that is killing babies. All of a sudden, killing babies is negotiable. All right, fine. I'm just reading the room.
So, Dave, why don't you...
No, I'm not talking about for Hamas.
Hold on, back up, Dave. Why don't
I just let you go on this whole long thing?
I know, I'm going to actually help you out here, Dave, okay? What I'm doing is I want you to tell the audience what's going on in Gaza, because some people in the audience don't know what's going on. So
it's ironic that some of the people don't know what's going on in Gaza, because those people listen to fucking Charlie Kirk. That's probably why they don't know what's going on in Gaza. That's why they're all freaking out right now. They're like, wait, what? That's why. That's why Dave Smith had to come on Turning Point USA and explain the G side in Gaza.
Assume they know, and let's not get back.
Oh, okay. Well, I did assume that most people know that lots of babies are being killed in Gaza, but maybe I shouldn't have assumed that.
Don't be sarcastic about it, Dave. Instead, I mean this. Because
no, I meant that literally. I did assume that.
Loop where they're on social media all the time. Okay, so walk through numbers, walk through what animates you to say something like that.
Well, okay. Well, let me respond to a few of the things that Josh claimed. I mean, if you want to go, there was just a major report a couple weeks ago in Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, where they had a bunch of IDF soldiers. They actually had one who went on record who was saying that they were ordered to shoot at crowds of people who were going into
all right, blood libel, left-wing filth, by the way.
Josh, I let you talk. Let's please let Dave make his case.
Well, is the IDF soldier who went on the record also filth?
Probably.
Okay. All right. There you go. So see, you're whatever. That's when you'll criticize the IDF. Netanyahu thought he had this brilliant idea, which is that he would prop up Hamas and keep them in power. His exact quote was, "We can control the height of the flame." So he was like, we'll keep these terrorists in power, and that way we can tell the entire international community that, look, we have no partner for peace. We have no one to deal with here. And that way we never have to negotiate with the Palestinians. This was the game that he played, and it blew up in his face and really blew up in the Israeli people's face on October 7th. And I've never downplayed October 7th. I know, but I'm just making the point that I never have.
Thank you for that, because what happened there is totally...
Day. You don't have to downplay.
First of all, I love what Dave Smith's saying here. I like Dave Smith's politics mostly. Some of it I disagree with. Do you see how excited people like Charlie Kirk get when you bring up October 7th? Talk about it! Say that it's bad because it's the worst thing ever. Yeah, we did, dude. It was years ago. We already talked about this. I was live the day that happened. I don't know a single person on our side of the aisle that was like, oh, this is good. Everybody was devastated on that day. The videos that were coming out that day, so watching the concert goers be dragged off like in trucks, it was devastating to watch. My question to those, the Turning Point USA crowd is like, did you stop watching after that? Why is it devastating to watch that happen, but it's not devastating to see like the bodies of Palestinian children? Why is it not devastating to hear the stories of like Palestinian children being found with like sniper bullet holes in their heads? Why is that not devastating? When you see a group of people basically in a corral begging for food, starving and emaciated, why is that not devastating? Can you not be devastated about all of it? You can't, and that's what I appreciate here about Dave Smith. You got Charlie Kirk, and you got, I don't know who this other dipshit was. He's just a Zionist. Like, they just don't want to talk about any of that. They want to tug at your heartstrings only sometimes. And then other times it's all justified.
Any of that. And in fact, I've criticized many other critics of Israel who have downplayed that. It was a horrible day. Awful, atrocious acts were committed by Hamas terrorists. But at the same time, Benjamin Netanyahu was propping those guys up. In fact, according to the Israeli former defense secretary, he sent the head of the Mossad to Qatar to, quote, beg them to continue shipping the money in. Meanwhile, they had a blockade around Gaza. They wouldn't let sugar, they wouldn't let potatoes in because they claim that's dual use. That could be used to build rockets. So the kids can't get, food. Yet hundreds of millions of dollars in cash directly to Hamas. I guess money doesn't have a dual use. So,
I don't know what's up with the audio here. Sorry.
The whole mission of this, what you can't even really call a war, because it's not a war, it's the destruction of a captive people. Gaza's been occupied since 1967 by the Israelis. And they're now just slaughtering the people there that's a fact. And it's under the supposed goal that they want to eliminate Hamas and they want to retrieve the hostages. And yet, Hamas is not being eliminated.
Hamas uses human shields.
Yeah, they certainly have. I'm not denying that. But at the same time, it's kind of, if let's say, in a domestic criminal situation.
They just beg. I'm going to stop it there. They just beg. Some way. They got to figure out some way to justify killing children. That's what they come up with. Jerry said RTP is more of a fan of carpet play. To be honest, that's facts. That is absolutely true. I went to a Coldplay concert once. It was great. Edward said Gen Xer here is Coldplay a band? Serious question. That makes me feel old, man. Yeah, it is. It's a band. I think they're good. Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Melissa, for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate you guys. Whoever that was saying that I was lying about Charlie Kirk, and to play the clip of Charlie Kirk saying that he was done talking about Epstein and he's going to trust his friends in the government. Here you go. Here's the Charlie Kirk clip.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine. Honestly, I'm done talking.
So there we go. I think we've got that cleared up now. He's not done talking about it because his audience went crazy. His audience is like, no, the fuck you're not. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess no, the fuck I'm not. So the is this the right one? Let me see which one's here. I have two links here. Make sure which is which. All right, is this one? All right, so the Nelk Boys had on Netanyahu, and I have only seen clips from the aftermath, so I haven't actually even seen the interview. And then they went, I assume what happened here is they did like an open panel. I don't know if this was like a Twitter Spaces, because I saw Hassan talking to them. I saw Fresh and Fit talking to them. I saw somebody else, and the Nelk Boys were in front of this mantle the entire time. So I think there must have been like a Q&A after or an open panel. Here's Hassan talking to them, and they tell you, they just flat out tell you that they did this because the White House asked them to do it. They brought on Netanyahu. Now, if you're not familiar with who the Nelk Boys are, many of you won't be. They are a group. They started as like a prank group. They got real famous for just doing kind of like those like grocery store pranks where you go in and you do something outrageous and like just fuck with customers. They did like really outlandish pranks. That's how they got famous. And then they kind of like Logan and Jake Paul. Then they transitioned into a podcast, and then they've expanded. They have like I think it's called Happy Dad was the name of their. I don't know if it's like a seltzer or something like that. And then they got in with the UFC, and they've gotten in with a lot of like high-powered groups, and they make a enormous amount of money. They also brought on Donald Trump. They also he went on and he endorsed Donald Trump. I think it was at the New York rally. So these are folks that have like been doing the bidding for Donald Trump. They get paid handsomely to do it. We know that money is funneled into these groups by right wingers, and before anything, these guys just want to make money. So they know that having Netanyahu on is going to be big for them. They probably knew that they would get backlash. But I also, just before they go, I just want to say one thing. I saw Andrew Schultz talk about this. I've seen them talk about it. I've seen Joe Rogan talk about it. I've seen Tim Dillon talk about it. These guys are such bitches sometimes. They show up, they never do politics. They're never involved in politics. And then they show up before the election and suddenly they're involved in politics. And then they endorse, they bring on people, they offer virtually no pushback to JD Vance and to Trump. They just allow them to sit up there and lie, and they get a bunch of hate for it. And then they, you know, they side with Israel, or they side with Trump on Epstein, whatever it might be. Most of them aren't siding with Trump on Epstein. That's a bad example. But Israel, and they get all this pushback, and then they go on their live streams and they're like, you know, this is crazy that you guys are giving us pushback. Like, we're not political. We're not a political podcast. We don't do this. You know, like, we just bring on interesting people and then we have a discussion. Don't enter the fucking frame then. Like, you're comedians and you're podcasters. All you do is the same shit I do, except for not politically. You play clips, you analyze them, you add commentary. And if your commentary's good, people watch you. If your commentary's shitty, people stop watching you. That's how this works. And you get criticism and you get feedback. But these little bitch boys that go on here and are like, it's not fair that you take us seriously. Or Joe Rogan with COVID. Why are you taking your advice from me? You shouldn't be, but they are. And you're saying it. Deal with it. You can't go into somebody else's domain where other people are experts, and then you go in and you try and get the clicks, and then you get pushback, and they're like, this isn't fair. This isn't what we do. Then don't do it. Like, either be tough and deal with the criticism, and fair play for the Nelk boys here, because I haven't seen Andrew Schultz do this. I haven't seen Joe Rogan do this. Fair play to them that they bring on somebody who does know what the fuck they're talking about, Hassan. Whether you agree with Hassan or not, you can't say that Hassan's not educated. They also brought in Fresh and Fit, Myron from Fresh and Fit, which I don't know if that's an expert. So at least fair play to them for taking this criticism. But I am so tired of these podcast bros who spent the months leading up to the election taking viewership away from people who knew what the fuck they were talking about, got these guests on their podcast. And those guests like J.D. Vance and Trump went on their podcast because they knew they would be absolute fucking softballs. They knew it. They knew they would never be pushed on anything. And so millions of voters saw only that version of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And millions of viewers didn't know that all this shit we warned you guys was going to happen for Project 2025 happened. And now that it's happening, they want to retreat and be like, it's not. We're just podcasters. You know, we just bring on guests. No. If you enter the world of politics, you get the criticism with it. Well, you guys all want to be able to just do what you want with no criticism. So, again, shout out for them for taking Hassan, but I thought Hassan did a good job laying this out to them. And you can see Steiny here, who is he's just a whiny little bitch. I can't stand Steiny. You can see Steiny's uncomfortable with this.
All right, so you guys interviewed the Hitler incarnate, Benjamin Netanyahu, and now everybody's yelling at you guys. Okay, so first and foremost, who the fuck set that up?
Someone from the communications team at the White House hit us up, connected us with their communications team, and presented us the opportunity to do it. But with the Full Sun podcast, hate it or love it, right or wrong, if we ever get the opportunity to have a controversial guest on, we're never going to turn it down. Because in my opinion, what we want to do with the Full Sun podcast on is we're not afraid to have controversial people on. We're going to ask them questions. Sure, we're probably not the best at asking questions. We're not the best journalists, never claimed to be, so we might not be the best at pressing them. But in my opinion, it's up to the viewer to form their own educated opinion. Just because we have someone on and we're sitting beside someone, people aren't going to be like, oh my God, Nelk's with them. Like, I love this person. Like,
my question is...
My problem with that is that, like, if that's your view, say it on the podcast then. Say it when you do it. You know what I mean? Like, by the way, viewers, if I'm doing this, if I'm the Nelk boys here, and I have Netanyahu, I'm saying all the time, like, hey, just so you know, I don't know the questions to ask him to push back. So don't just believe everything this guy is saying. He's giving you his case, but go and research these claims and see if he's telling the truth or not. If that, like, say that on the podcast then. I do think that that's why you get Netanyahu. That's why you get Trump. That's why you get J.D. Vance. Because they know that you're actually going to do the legwork for them. Whether you meant to or not, you're going to normalize their views. You're going to normalize their lies. You're going to normalize the shit that they're saying. Like, more people are going to watch you than are going to watch even Hassan's massive. More people are going to watch the Nelk boys than Hassan, and Hassan's far more educated. At the very least, he could give pushback. So if you're going to do that, at least say it. At least say it on the podcast. Hey, this guy, like, a lot of our audience hates him, and they're saying he's lying. We don't know if he's lying. You should look up to find out if he's lying.
Do you feel like there is a culpability that you have? Because, like, look, Donald Trump is a contentious figure, and obviously he's responsible for a metric ton of pain and violence as well, but so is every other American president. That's one thing. But Benjamin Netanyahu is like unique in the sense that he's also a foreign leader, because he's getting something out of this, right? He's getting something out of this where he gets to, I guess, like try and humanize himself.
That's the thing, Hassan, is we'll have anyone on. Like next episode, we're gonna have someone on with the complete opposite ideology. We're talking to a few different people, and we want to choose the right person to kind of represent the opposite side.
Okay, but Benjamin Netanyahu isn't just like a podcaster. You know what I mean? Like he's literally the prime minister that is a war criminal by the International Criminal Court. He's like literally branded as a war criminal.
I think if you watch it though too, I think yes. I mean, I think me and Steiny could have pressed him a little bit harder, but we did ask him, what is your response to when people say you're starving children in Gaza? Do you think October 7th could have been prevented? Are you trying to implement regime change in Iran? We definitely did ask him some questions that I think people wanted to know.
Okay, what did he say? I mean, of course, he said
for starving children in Gaza, he said that they bring the food in and Hamas steals it and then sells it.
That's a lie. No human rights organization that works on the ground, from the UN to the World Food Program, has ever agreed to the Israeli position that this is all Hamas stealing aid or whatever. As a matter of fact, they've openly said that that is not the case at all. It's just a way for Israel to continue justifying its starvation policies against the entire civilian population of Gaza so that they can claim that, like, oh, Hamas is just like stealing this aid. It's bullshit. They've never actually given a single piece of evidence for this. It is just a claim that people have to supposedly take at face value because Israel said it.
So what's your overall opinion of us? Like Kyle just said.
It's tiny. So what do you think about me? That's the point, right? Like, if you're going to be the Nelk Boys, and whatever, they're better at this than I am. They're better at getting viewers. So who am I to give them advice? But if you're going to have on Netanyahu and you don't want this type of criticism, maybe do some legwork beforehand. Because to say to Netanyahu, like, are you interested in a regime change in Iran? And then he's like, no. Or if you say, like, are you starving children in Palestine, in Gaza? And he says no, you need follow-up questions because he's going to lie. So maybe just in the future, prep. Understand what what his answers are going to be, or you should know what his answers are going to be. Prep. Have some pushback. Give him and you can whatever. Like, you can do. He can still lie, but offer some pushback. I think that's good advice.
Stated that we're having a world leader on.
I think it was dumb. I'll be honest. Because it's not.
But you would do the same thing, Hassan, if you had the opportunity. 100%.
No, I mean,
Sure,
there's a difference,
harder.
though. I'm well equipped to have a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, because when he says something like that, I can turn around and be like, well, the World Food Program has said that, there is no evidence to suggest that Hamas is stealing aid. Whereas you don't have that follow-up in that situation, and Benjamin Netanyahu knows that, and his team knows that, which is precisely why
we got the Hassan haters in here. Shut up about this. He's like, is the H3 group in here? Show me evidence that Hassan is a terrorist sympathizer. Show me this evidence that he's running cover for Hamas, that they even raised Hamas warehouses and recovered the food they're stealing. Show me the evidence of that, Chris, please. If he's lying, that's fine. I don't know. I looked it up. I didn't see any evidence that Hamas was like raiding all of the food shipments. I've never seen any credible evidence for that. Please, you're welcome to send it to Jen on Discord. I'd love to see it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But goddamn, man, guys, like, why is Hamas or why is Hassan the bad guy here? We're talking about Netanyahu versus Hassan, and you want to focus on Hassan. Hassan has said some things that I don't agree with. Yeah, the other guy's doing a genocide. Maybe we focus on the guy doing the genocide. I'm sure Hassan has said some shitty things. I've never been a Hassan fan. In fact, I've told people this before, and maybe this will make sense, but when I was a Republican, then I was a libertarian, and who actually like moved me furthest to the left, and I admittedly haven't listened to him in a long time, was Vosh. And I used to listen to Vosh debate all the time. I still think that of all the debaters online, Vosh is by far the best debater. I don't think that there's anybody even close to Vosh when it comes to debate. I don't know. I don't even know where his views are lately. In fact, the last time I watched Vosh was when I debated Andrew Wilson. I don't remember who it was. Actually, it was Tex sent me a link of Vosh debating Andrew Wilson, and I watched some clips from that. So I haven't watched him, but these aren't the bad guys here. But Hassan, I have no reason to protect. I'm open to the idea that Hassan is a bad guy or is doing these things. But everything I've seen is from like the H3 podcast, where that dude's clearly losing his mind. Ethan Klein, he's clearly fucking lost it. Most of the stuff he says out loud is verifiably insane and wrong. So I'm open to it, but you're gonna have to show me some evidence.
He went on the Nelk Boys podcast, and he didn't go on, my stream or something. And I don't even know if I would honestly have a conversation with him if given the opportunity.
There we go. All right. I want me to meet Andrew Wilson. You cried like a little baby. Okay. Which one of us, just real quick, Jim, which one of us quit? Which one of us stayed there for 4 hours and took questions, and which one of us quit? Who challenged who to the debate? Who ended who didn't address a single concern? That's Andrew Wilson. Look, I can tell you, just so you know, like messages from Andrew Wilson's audience told me that you're wrong. You'd be surprised how many people reached out to me and said, I didn't agree with a word you said, but I've never seen Andrew so flustered. I've never seen Andrew unable to make a point. So you can say whatever you want about Andrew Wilson. I think that debate was largely a waste. We didn't talk about anything because Andrew had to frame this as I was an ideologue. But I think you'd be surprised the amount of people who reached out that, again, not one of them said, I agree with you, you changed your mind. Or changed my mind, but many of them said, at least a dozen said, I've never seen Andrew that frazzled. I've never seen him unable to get to his points. I've never seen him unable to make a coherent argument. So whatever you want to do with that, I'm happy. I'm happy with how that turned out ultimately. In fact, actually, here's the next part. Let's go into that. This is a good segue. I do believe that a lot of the people that debated Mehdi Hasan are like of the Andrew Wilson ilk. And this is what happens when you follow Andrew Wilson. This is what happens when you follow Nick Fuentes. Both of them are very convincing, and both of them have spent years perfecting their debate style and their ideologies and their arguments. And so when you get Andrew Wilson or Nick Fuentes in a debate with somebody who isn't really sure and makes the mistake of thinking that they're coming into this with good faith and not trying to play gotchas, it looks convincing. But in practice, these are all people who are heavily influenced by the likes of Andrew Wilson. In fact, you'll notice a couple of them said like that. In fact, the fascist guy was like, yeah, the Catholics should run the world. And they're talking about the Orthodox Catholic Church. That's Andrew Wilson's view too. Look what happens in practice when those people take what they learned from Andrew Wilson and Nick Fuentes and they come in front of somebody who has facts. They completely fall the fuck apart because that ideology is only convincing to somebody who wants to believe that already. But when you boil it down, what their arguments actually are, the argument for all of these folks is, I think that we should have authoritarian control. I think that should be done by the Orthodoxy Church. I don't think we should have no-fault divorce. I don't think women should have the right to vote. I don't think women should be allowed to work. I think that women should defer to the husband. So the husband votes for the wife, and the husband should get his direction directly from the church, who should also rule the country. When you boil down their beliefs, and any of you are welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, that's Andrew's belief. And that's their belief too. And that's why I think it's important. I think Jubilee is getting a ton of heat for this. And I think some in this audience are going to give me some heat for this. I think this was important. I think Jubilee doing this episode was a good thing. I think that these people largely sit in echo chambers, and their views can seem sane until they're pressed. And only once they're pressed does the racism and the bigotry come out. They're hiding it all the time. All of these people have on a mask. They're all pretending to be something they're not, and they're trying to get you to be a fascist like them. Now, behind closed doors, the mask is off. Like, the racism is out, the bigotry is out. But in public, they masquerade as normal human beings. I think that this Jubilee episode is important, but I also think that things like the Whatever podcast that Andrew is frequently on is a net negative, because they take people off the streets and they're like, hey, we'll give you some food and come in here and just have a discussion. And they don't know that they're walking into a trap. They don't know that they're walking into an actual white nationalist who has spent years perfecting his arguments and knows like the average person's arguments. And so he makes everybody that debates against him on that podcast look like a fucking idiot. And so then you wind up following Andrew Wilson, and you wind up agreeing with his points, and then you get to a situation where it's somebody like Mehdi Hasan who has counters to your positions, and you wind up your only option is to hate him, and then out comes the racism. I actually think Jubilee doing this was a good thing. I don't know if I don't think I'm in the majority opinion there. I think most people disagree with me, but I think that these people need to be challenged, and I think that if you're going to challenge them, have your shit together. Don't go challenge them if you don't know what they're going to say. Don't go challenge them if you don't know what their actual ideology is, because inadvertently you may look stupid. So to do this, you need somebody like Mehdi Hasan to expose what they're doing. We're going to show some of these clips. This is the effects of Andrew Wilson and the Dunning-Kruger. I'm confident because Andrew Wilson debates girls, and I'm gonna make Mehdi Hasan look the same way, and then Mehdi Hasan has answers for that.
Hypothetical, wherein the entire population of the United States has drastically changed.
Yes.
And the population.
Oh, sorry. Devo also said, Charlie Kirk said balls in their hands. I forgot to read that one. Thank you.
Now has completely different intentions about what to do with the country. Let's say.
Oh, sorry. One more. Sorry. Let me get these. Byron said, this is everyone. This is 1980 in chat. Everyone 1980 in chat. Why do you take 2 Mormons fishing with you? Because if you only take 1 Mormon, they will drink all your beer. That is a good inside Mormon joke. Well done. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy that the stuff that they applauded was crazy. Stuff that you statistically can't prove. That's just literally, how did the country change? We let non-whites in. That's what he just said. He just said, the reason this country changed is because there's non-whites here now. That needs to be exposed. People need to know that their neighbors are cheering at them, saying like, oh, when non-whites come into our country, it ruins our country. Gabrielle said, these guys are losers. That's why Jubilee picked him. Spoiler, everybody who listens to Andrew Wilson and Andrew Wilson, they're all fucking losers. They're all just shitbags blaming their problems on brown people because they can't figure out another reason why they're so goddamn mediocre. And then Andrew figured out that if he tells you guys that you're not mediocre, that it's actually immigrants' problem, that you'll pay him money. And that's why he demands appearance fees as place he goes. He's made an absolute fortune because you guys are victim little, like you're just victim complex little bitches. Yeah, all my problems are from immigrants, and Andrew knows that, and he capitalizes on that, which is why he asks you guys to pay him memberships every month. And same shit I'm doing here. He's done a very, very good job telling you that you're the victim and that everybody else is the problem, not you. It makes you feel good. You know, there you go, guys. It's not your fault. Oh, thank you. Here's $5. That's why. They're all losers. How do you make this claim? Like, we value freedom of speech, but you need to hear from the fascists. I'll debate. I mean, I've debated fascists. I did it with Andrew. We do it all the time. But that's a weird thing to say. Like, as a fascist, you don't value freedom of speech. It's crazy. It's so crazy that even if they are, like, even if you want to, there were some founding fathers that were racist who just believe. I mean, most of them believed only white people should have that. But it's fucking crazy to the way that they phrase this. Just say it. I don't know why you guys hide behind all of this phraseology. Just fucking say it. I believe the Constitution is for white people only. Just say that. White Christian men. But to say that like their intent was to allow white Christian men, only white Christian men, is to say everything else since then was like a problem. Civil War, yeah, who would you side with in the Civil War then? Probably side with the South there, right? Civil rights, that's a problem. We shouldn't have done the civil rights movement. Women's suffrage. They can't say it. They can't say these things out loud because like they'll lose viewers. They have to lie about their views. I've told this before, but like when I was a Mormon missionary, they taught you, like, we would go in and we called them the discussions, but they were just like, it was just the propaganda plan. And there was, I don't remember how many there were. It changed when I got on my mission. It was more like conversational. But you basically, when you meet somebody who's interested in the Mormon church, you have like a series of discussions. And by the end, you like try and use the commitment pattern, commit them to be baptized. Right? But you don't tell them everything. That's part of it. In fact, you're told not to tell them anything. You don't tell them about the practice of polygamy. You never talk about that. You don't talk about how it wasn't until 1978 that the Mormon church gave black people the priesthood. You don't talk about that. You don't talk about historically how they wanted to keep black people out of the state. You don't talk about how historically they spent millions of dollars to oppose gay marriage. You never talk about any of the truthful stuff. You don't talk about how Joseph Smith burned down a newspaper who printed the truth about him practicing polygamy, and that's why they got run out of the state of Illinois. You don't talk about that the reason they got run out of the state of Missouri is because they put a hit on the governor. You never tell the whole truth, and that's why I say it's a cult. That's why I told Andrew to his face, like, you're in a cult, because they always lie about their real position. They try and sugarcoat it, but if they had a position that they thought was tenable, they wouldn't have to lie about it. Like my position on what I think we should do in life or in America, like it's pretty simple. I think that people should have access to food. I think people should have access to healthcare. I think that our tax system should incentivize that wealth be spread around. That's simple. I don't have to hide any of that. There's nothing dark about what I'm saying. I'm not hiding a belief system. That's why they always tell you. That's all these folks go, oh, it's replacement theory. The real reason that Democrats support or don't support the mass detention and deportation of immigrants is because they want to replace us. They're just not telling you that. What they really want to do is replace all the whites with Latin folks. That's what they want to do. Everybody from Central and South America, they just want to replace you so that they have votes. I've never heard anybody say that. Honest to God, this replacement theory. Who's pushing replacement theory? I've never heard somebody from the opposite side. Like, this is a complete straw man, and they all do this. And again, just referencing back to the debate, at one point I told Andrew that like his debate tactics were because he was an ideologue. He starts with the conclusion and he works backwards, which is 100% true. So true that he didn't even argue that. He just said, you do the same thing. You're also an ideologue, which they have to do. They have to assume that we have this hidden ideology that we're not telling them about, because what they're doing is hiding their ideology and not telling us about it, and they're hiding it with all this other shit. And they know that they're doing it, and the only way they can justify that to themselves is by convincing themselves and everybody else that everybody's actually doing what they're doing. Everybody's actually doing this little magic trick where, like, we don't show the puppet behind the wall. Or the hand behind the wall. The hand that's moving the puppet. God, that was a bad analogy. They all try and do this same shit. They just can't be honest. And they have to create straw man in order for them to sound sane.
I didn't give the Second Amendment.
No, hold on.
They always want to talk about the Second Amendment. This was like the third guy that would not talk about the amendments Mehdi Hassan listed.
Fourth, you don't want to talk about the ones I've given.
You're interrupting me. You're interrupting me.
You're ignoring me. First, fourth.
Groovy Redhead. The red flags. So all these people surrounding him agree, but the red flags are basically everybody in the audience. Once I think a majority of them have their red flag up, then this guy's got to go, and it's on time. This is the part I want you to take away. This is what they do. They don't know how to have a fucking discussion with human beings. When I said that these dipshits are fucking losers, I mean it. And the reason that they're all fucking losers is because they don't know how to have a conversation like a human being. They're literally saying, he's trying to discuss ideas, and he's like, I'm not listening to anything you're saying. I'm trying to determine your ideology, because what I need to do in order to not sound like an absolute psychopath is I need to take your ideology, and then I need to poke holes in your ideology to show that your ideology is flawed, so that when you point out that my ideology is flawed, I can say, so is yours, and we never have to have this discussion about ideas, because I'm subhuman and I don't know how to speak to other human beings. That's why it always boils down to this. Every one of these alt-righters, if you ever find yourself in a debate and they're trying to nail down your ideology, just know it's not your fault. You're not in a real debate. You're with somebody who doesn't know how to speak to human beings, doesn't know how to have a conversation, because their entire life is wrapped up in a fucking debate about ideology. And so they're like, everybody's got an ideology. Somebody said it here earlier. You have an ideology. It's literally what you base your beliefs on. I don't base my beliefs on anything, right? Like, if I go outside and it's raining, I get an umbrella. If I go outside and it's not raining, I don't have an umbrella. I make decisions based on what's right in front of me and what's the best possible solution for what's right in front of me, which is why, like, I'm not a communist, which is why I'm not a socialist, which is why I'm not a capitalist, because it doesn't make any fucking sense to bury yourself in an ideology and to glue yourself to that ideology, because what happens is, it doesn't matter what your ideology is, you will be inconsistent at some point. You will have to defend abhorrent views at some point in order to stay consistent. That's what Andrew does. That's what these guys do. They want to nail down your ideology. Then they want to find a place where you can be inconsistent. Think back to that debate. And you guys will remember this. We spent 20 fucking minutes on this. And this is the part that made Andrew the most mad. When we were talking about, I said that anybody who wants to remove somebody from their land because of the color of their skin is a bitch. And Andrew didn't like that. And then Andrew tried to take us to like the reservation lands from native lands and said, okay, so if somebody if you are on native land and they kick you off because you're white, they like you settle there and you build a house and then they kick you off because you're white, does that make them a bitch? I said, no, that's your property rights. That you have no right to be on their land. They can kick you off. He's like, oh, now it's property rights. What he wanted me to say is that if you kick somebody off for their race, everybody's a bitch, and they would be a bitch. Now, to extend the olive branch that I gave him, I said, if the only reason they are kicking you off their land is because you are white and they don't care about the property rights, then yes, they are a bitch. But they're still legally within their rights. They still legally can remove you because of property rights. So I will advocate for property rights. I will advocate that you get to pick and choose who comes onto your property. But I will not say that you are justified for kicking somebody off just because of how they look. I think you're a bitch in that way. But if you have a legal right to do it, you can be a bitch and have a legal right. But they want to narrow that down. They want to find a flaw in your ideology. So then at that point, they're like, see, look, you're flawed. That was the whole point of that conversation, is he just wanted me to admit that, like, I only think that white, if you judge somebody by the color of your skin, that only works in one direction. And I don't agree with that. I think that works in all directions. If you hate somebody because of what they look like, I think you're a bitch. Jen, did I hear you trying to break in? Thought I did. No? Okay. Let me read a couple comments here real quick. Tim, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Kelly said, this guy is a Mormon from Utah. I've seen him on TikTok. This dude? Kelly, if you find his name, will you message that to Jen? That actually kind of makes sense. The smile, the Scandinavian look, the smiling through abhorrent views. Julius said, RTP show, thanks. Trudy said, Jen's guilt trip is working. Oh, Jen, you been guilt tripping down there? Devin said, for the new goal, a.k.a. Jen. Thank you very much. I'll update that number. Oh, I need to check here, too. Hey, guys, no slurs. No, like, don't even do, like, the play on words for the slurs, please. Nomad Girl said, doing my part to keep you safe from Jen. What is Jen saying? What is Jen saying in the chat? Is she threatening people again? You know how we've talked about it before, but this is called projection. The only conclusion that is sensible here, Mehdi Hasan hasn't said any of that. This guy is saying that. This guy also is comfortable dismantling the Constitution for his worldview. This is just simple projection. This is him again, and this is why these guys suck at debating, is because if you force them to have a conversation, they do not know how. And so he's now saying, like, actually, the truth is about you, and then he's just going to tell you what he thinks. The truth about you, Mehdi Hasan, is you don't care about the Constitution. You only care about it as a means to an end. That's literally every person in this audience. That is what they're advocating for, that you use the Constitution in ways that you like to get the end result of fascism that you actually want. It's a useful tool. This is textbook projection on all of them, and it's why they are all dog shit at debating. It's because they're not debating what they really feel. They're not debating what they really think. They're not debating their real ideas. They're just trying to get you to look as bad as they look, and then it's like, oh, now it's just you got to pick left or right. That's the all right, there we go. That's enough of that one. Steven said, when it rains, I'd rather use a poncho than my ideology. That's my ideology. Great show. Thank you. Look, debating a fascist is dumb if you're trying to win the debate. But if you are going into that to try and have a discussion and you force them to have a discussion, I think it's useful. I think it is useful to show that these people are subhuman in their ideology, that they do not, they just simply are a bunch of scared little boys who are mediocre at best, and they're afraid that they're going to be replaced. and they've been fear-mongered into thinking that they're taking like this really principled stance. Let's get back to James Talarico, though. James Talarico went on Joe Rogan, and let me show you a couple clips from there. He was unbelievable on Joe Rogan. I felt guilty listening to James Talarico because as I'm listening to Joe Rogan's questions and I'm listening to his answers, I'm thinking about like how would I react to this? And in every instance, the way Talarico answered was one, more calm than me. Two, probably more coherent than me, and three, like it kept the conversation going, and he didn't take opportunities where he could have derailed. Like he stayed on message. This was one of the best podcasts I've ever heard in my entire life. Talarico is somebody who, as a devout Christian, we don't share that belief, but I have a great deal of respect for this type of Christianity. Here he is with Rogan. With what should be the quote of the year. If we have a quote of the year in our Discord, this should be it.
And again, this is very personal, given how important my faith is to me. But I'm a Christian, and I think there is no more dangerous form of government than theocracy. Because the only thing worse than a tyrant is a tyrant who thinks they're on a mission from God.
We haven't had any good examples of that in the past.
No.
There's not one that you go, well, that one worked out.
Right. And so this is people trying to use my religion to control people.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game. And we're seeing that here. I mean, Texas is, I'm an 8th generation Texan. My family's been here since it was Mexico. I love this state. But I've just seen people like Dunn and Wilkes just take us in this far right culture war direction at the expense of actual problems we need to solve. One of the bills that didn't pass last legislative session was a bill that would have provided funding for flood mitigation and emergency systems to get the word out when there's a flood. And we literally just saw the consequence of not passing that bill.
I think that is brilliant. Like the quote is, the only thing worse than a tyrant is a tyrant who thinks they're on a mission from God. Shout out Joseph Smith. Shout out David Koresh. You know, like shout out now Donald Trump. Like he was able to co-opt that. I haven't got into this because I don't know where I land on this, but I know that there's a sizable amount of people who think that the events in Butler were staged. I've seen the evidence that it was staged. I will say it leaves me with questions. I do think it's very strange that this administration was, before they were in office, they were very, very convinced that this was the left trying to unalive them. And we have had zero investigations by this administration into the assassination attempts on Trump. Is that not, at the very least, Republicans, can we agree that that's weird? That we haven't discussed it? All these investigations? We have investigation now into Obama and James Clapper, which is dead on arrival. It's bullshit investigation that's not real at all. We've already covered that. It will lead to absolutely nothing. But we haven't investigated what happened in Butler. We can't track this down. It's a 19-year-old kid, and we can't figure out what the fuck happened there. I've seen the video. I've never seen an explanation for why Donald Trump's ear is not absolutely destroyed if it was hit. And I've seen one explanation that it was shrapnel. I've heard that. If I take off the conspiracy theory hat and I take just the evidence presented and we use Occam's razor and we say like what is the most likely chain of events? What is the most likely explanation for what happened? I would say that the most likely explanation for what happened is that there was a shooter who wanted to make a name for himself. Clearly, he had researched the stops of both Trump and Biden. He saw his opportunity. He took his opportunity, and probably shrapnel hit Trump's ear. And then Trump used that by telling all of his followers that this was an act of God and that God saved him, which is crazy. That God saved Trump and killed a fireman. Like, why not save both? Like, why not, if you're moving that bullet, why not save both? Don't take out the fireman father as well. Maybe if God's just. But like Occam's razor tells me that's the most likely. But taking Occam's razor away and saying there's no medical report, like the medical report that was given from the Trump team was from Ronnie Jackson, who wasn't even there, didn't even treat him. The actual doctors who treated him, they've never released a medical statement. You can show that aide when the shot happened. You see that aide rush, and it appears that the aide goes off camera and comes back with folks with cameras. It's bizarre to see Secret Service standing around Trump in real time with the rest of the crowd just sitting there. No crowd control, nobody moving. Trump standing up, yelling, "Fight." It is bizarre. It's really, really fucking bizarre. The page will be shut down in about 5 minutes. Thanks, Doug. Are you reporting it? Go report. I don't know. I'm just saying it's weird to me. Whatever. If it happened the way Trump said it happened, fine. It's very strange to me that we've never dug into that. Because that was a turning point. That shifted at the time. Trump was underwater in polling. He was like -3, and he came out of that like +5. It was like an 8-point swing in polling. Ironically, like that's what gave Trump the momentum. He was really, really struggling in polls. That was huge for him. And I remember one of my good friends who worked in politics for a long time, who is still finds himself largely on the right. He texted me. He's like, Trump just won the election. And I was like, no, there's no way. He's like, you don't get it. Like, this is huge. All these people I know, like all these Republicans or these just bros that don't even care about politics, they saw that. They saw his reaction. They thought it was the coolest fucking thing they've ever seen. He's like, this just won the election. And at the time, I didn't believe it. Maybe it did. But I hadn't seen the polling either. But I saw that polling last week. That shift from -3 to like +5. It was a massive shift for him. Just weird that we never talked about it, right? Just very strange that at the very least, Republicans, we should probably be able to agree that it's weird that we've never talked about that. It's weird that there's no investigation, because they were every one of them was on every Fox News led every segment with they're trying to kill our president. The left is trying to kill our president. So I guess Occam's razor there would also be like they always knew that it wasn't the left. They always knew that it was just a rogue guy, and that's why there's no investigation. But now you got to ask like why they lied to you, if you were cool with them lying to you. Here's Talarico again, just breaking down religion in honestly like the most beautiful way I've ever seen. If Talarico was like my pastor at the time, I may not have left church. I don't know.
There is giant ethical overlap between the major world religions. There is literally not a faith tradition that tells you when someone gets sick, see how much money you can make off of them.
Right.
No religion teaches that. None of them, right? Like,
right.
You know, there's no one that's, love your neighbors only when they agree with you. Right? There's just that's not what any of the faith traditions teach. Like, there is this consensus, this ethical consensus. And the reason I think we try to pretend that all these religions are so different is because we are threatened by that moral consensus of how you should treat one another, how we
Wait, we're in Texas. Let me just tell you, I said it was a conspiracy. I said I have no evidence for it. I don't have a problem with conspiracy theories. Honestly, I think that they're a good, I think they're thought-provoking. My problem is when people believe conspiracy theories, when they dedicate themselves to a conspiracy theory without evidence. I would never attach myself to that. If right now you showed me some different evidence that led me to believe something else, I would just immediately change. I'm just saying Occam's razor. Like, if we're gonna say like statistically what's most likely, I would say it's that, and I would happily change my mind. I have no problem with the conspiracy, and I don't even know that that's a conspiracy theory. Honestly, I don't think I've even laid out a conspiracy theory. I don't think that there's a theory there of people conspiring. What I'm saying is, in fact, at the end of that was, I actually think that probably what happened is that there was a lone gunman and you guys turned it into a conspiracy theory. I think what I did was anti-conspiracy theory, isn't it, technically? Didn't I just, I said your conspiracy theory didn't make any sense, and the Occam's razor says that it wasn't a conspiracy theory? Let me go back a little.
Should treat the least emotions teach. Like, there is this consensus, this ethical consensus. And the reason I think we try to pretend that all these religions are so different is because we are threatened by that moral consensus of how you should treat one another, how we should treat the least among us. And that's a threat to the people who are in power, the people who run the status quo right now. I mean, it upends the status quo. They didn't kill Jesus for being a nice guy.
Capitalism killed religion. The reason that most people don't like religion now is because of capitalism. Like, you stopped worshiping God and you started worshiping money and power. I think that's what James Talarico is pointing at there. Is that there's when somebody gets sick, it's like we help that person. we do anything to help that person. When you see these super churches or these mega churches and there's flooding and there's people that are unhoused and they could go at the very least get like some shelter in these churches, do they open up their doors? Generally not. Should they open up their doors? If they're following their what they preach, they should. But he said there's no religion that says when someone gets sick, see how much money you can make off them. And yet, here we are. Now here's Talarico breaking down how Dan Patrick blocked critical funding for flood mitigation. I think this was part of this was covered in a previous clip, but here's showing Texas. These good God-fearing Texans. Every one of those Republicans with the cross on around their neck is blocking funding for flood mitigation just to push their beliefs.
Far right culture war direction at the expense of actual problems we need to solve. One of the bills that didn't pass last legislative session was a bill that would have provided funding for flood mitigation and emergency systems to get the word out when there's a flood. And we literally just saw the consequence of not passing that bill over the weekend.
Why would they not want that passed? That seems like
you want to know. Okay, we're talking. Yeah. We're honestly here. Okay, that bill was passed by Representative Ken King, a Republican, someone I often have disagreements with, but he's a good man. He's from far north Panhandle, where they saw historic wildfires last year. So he put this bill that would have addressed wildfires, also flooding, and would have, I think, saved some of the lives in the Hill Country over the weekend during those catastrophic floods. That bill passed the state house, the lower chamber that I'm in, on a bipartisan basis. Overwhelmingly, Democrats and Republicans said, this is good policy, let's pass it. Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, who controls the state Senate, which is the upper chamber, he held that bill hostage so that he could get his THC ban through. And again, I know this may be confusing people outside of Texas.
It's a good move to bring up banning THC to Joe Rogan. It's a really good move.
Legalized hemp a few years ago. It's a booming industry. It's a product that's providing people a lot of relief. Dan Patrick decided to put this bill forward that would ban all THC products in the state of Texas, basically close hundreds of businesses across the state, lay off thousands of people.
Why do you think you do that?
Let's go back, follow the money.
Okay.
What industry do you think was most invested in taking this new product off the market?
Thanks, Danny.
Drugs?
No.
Alcohol?
Big alcohol. Big beer. And I guess I love beer. This is not a critique of them. My point is they use their influence to take a competitor out of the market. By the way, a competitor that is, research suggests, is safer and less addictive than alcohol. Again, I'm not disparaging alcohol, but it has a lot of negative side effects and a lot of negative, and is very addictive. And I have members of my family who struggle with addiction and struggle with alcoholism. THC can be, under the right circumstances, an alternative. I mean, there are seniors who use it for chronic pain. There are veterans who use it for PTSD. There are just Texans with anxiety who use it to chill out at the end of a long, stressful day. And so the fact that the lieutenant governor, one, would do the bidding of one industry over the other, two, would hold up literally a life-saving bill that could have possibly saved lives over the weekend in those floods, just to cater to wealthy special interests, to me is just an encapsulation of everything that's wrong with politics. Right.
This is such a good example of somebody hiding behind their Christianity, doing the bidding of their donors. And this is the criticism that I have of specifically Christian Republicans currently, is that they hide behind their religion and they're like, oh, I have a religious opposition to cannabis. But the reality is they have a financial opposition, and those may align in their view. But like, I've read the Bible. I don't think that there's anything. In fact, I don't think that there's anything in the Bible that would say that you shouldn't use cannabis. I would say that there's probably more evidence that you should use cannabis. That like, if God creates a plant, that plant was intended for a purpose. God does nothing without purpose, right? So if he made that plant for a reason, what was the reason for it? Probably, maybe it was to chill out after a long day. Maybe it was to help. Maybe he knew cancer was coming and it was going to help people with their cancer treatments. Ironically, like my dad went through cancer treatment for years, and the Mormon Church has no opposition to medical marijuana. In fact, Historically they have, and then they changed their view once it was legalized in Utah, and they did some dirty tricks on that cannabis legislation. If you've been here, you know what I'm talking about. Like we've discussed it before. We can discuss it another time. But my dad was going through chemotherapy, and he was extremely nauseous. And like the anti-nausea drugs didn't help a lot, but he also had no appetite, and he was losing weight. My dad's a very skinny man as it is. He's just like a country boy with like an inverted ass that just he's always been skin and bones. And I don't know. He's like 6'1". I think he was down at one point. I want to say like 140s. And so I was trying over and over and over again to get him to just try and use cannabis, whether it was an edible or a vape or whatever he might use, to one, help with the nausea, but two, allow him to be able to eat, give him an appetite. And he wouldn't do it because he had been so indoctrinated his whole life that this was an evil thing, that's something that could have helped him avoid a lot of discomfort and also helped him heal faster. He wouldn't do, even though like his church at that point no longer opposed it. And you look at the Mormon Church and the things that they have opposed, and then you go and you look at their investments, and you're like, oh, that's weird. They spend a lot of money investing in things that they historically have opposed, and then their worldview changes right about the time that they invest in something. And I think that you're going to probably see, if we ever get transparency again from the Mormon Church on their finances, which will be hard, you'll see a lot of investments in cannabis. Here is Talarico talking about the biggest divide in our politics not being left or right. I agree. He's just so good. I'm rarely silent. You guys know I usually don't let clips play all the way through, but I was blown away listening to this. I listened to it twice, and this was brilliant. This is the type of messaging that needs to come from the left. This needs to be copied by every left-leaning politician in the world. This is a winning message.
I think of politics now less as left versus right and much more as top versus bottom.
Yeah.
Because
You're right.
I just see how we are all pitted against each other.
Mhm.
And I mean literally.
Sure.
These social media platforms, they only get clicks when there's conflict.
Mhm.
Right? They don't get clicks when we're having a conversation, when we're understanding each other.
Right.
That doesn't get anybody any profit.
Right.
And so the Rupert Murdochs of the world, the cable news networks, the social media platforms, the Zuckerbergs and Musks, these platforms are literally tearing us apart.
You're onto something. I think what you're saying is absolutely.
This also, if we're being honest, when I was listening to this part, it also like, and this is why I said that listening to it made me feel like a worse person, because I'm part of that. This is how I make my living. And a lot of what we're talking about is like the divisive stuff. And what I take from this, and I'll be bad at it, is that there are things worth dividing people on if it's legitimate, and then there's a whole bunch of other silly shit that we divide on, the petty shit that keeps us divided. Like the reality is, all of us are being hurt by the fact that billionaires are hoarding the wealth. No matter what your political leanings are, that's legitimately that hurts you. The solutions we can disagree on. The solution to that we can disagree on. But I don't think anybody legitimately thinks that the concentration of wealth being in the hands of 80 people, the way that it is now, is a healthy outcome. Our solution for how to fix that might be different. But I don't think anybody disagrees that is an unhealthy and untenable situation that we're in right now.
Social media platforms, the Zuckerbergs and Musks, these platforms are literally tearing us apart.
You're onto something. I think what you're saying is absolutely true, though, that it's not us versus them. It's the top versus the bottom.
And I don't know if everyone is fully awake to that we're getting played.
I don't think people are, and I think you saying it is very important.
If we recognize that we have far more in common than the stuff that divides us, then that's a threat to their power. It's a threat to their wealth.
Mm.
That unity, that loving your enemy is not just morally good. It's not just idealistic. It is good strategic advice.
That's part of the problem, is that the people that are in power want to stay in power. And the best way to stay in power is to enrich the other people around you that are like you and create laws and create a structure.
It's so ironic to hear Joe Rogan say this, because for somebody who was a fan of Joe Rogan for a long time, I was a big fan of his podcast. I've shared that before, but there are moments in my life that are so clear, like in memories, that existed from listening to Rogan podcast. There were some incredible stories told on the Rogan podcast. One of them I think about all the time is there's a guy named Cowboy Cerrone and he told a story about cave diving. And he was cave diving with this guy, and this guy kind of freaked out and took off, and it kicked up all this silt, and basically he left Cowboy Cerrone to die, and Cowboy Cerrone almost died. Like, he almost ran out of oxygen going through these underwater caves, like trying to find his way out. I remember I was driving from Palm Springs to Phoenix, and I remember exactly where I was what I was feeling. So it's interesting to hear Joe Rogan say this, because when Joe Rogan started making like insane amounts of money, then he got he joined with the ideological dark web, which was like Ben Shapiro, him, Lex Friedman, and I forget those brothers' names, those two brothers. And then he started getting politically active, and then all of a sudden, then he has Elon Musk, then he has Zuckerberg, and all of a sudden he's surrounded by these rich dudes, and these rich dudes come onto his podcast, and they make him, they're like, oh, look, Joe, like, everybody just hates you because you have money. Everybody hates us because we have money. Somebody in here earlier said, like, you're just a communist who hates billionaires because they have more money than you. So it's that type of shit. That's the type of division that we're talking about. So it's interesting hearing Joe Rogan say this. And he understands what Talarico's saying, and he recognizes it. But what's painful is him not realizing that Talarico's talking about him. This guy has been completely manipulated by billionaires. They have convinced him to believe like the CFPB is dangerous, and that Donald Trump was the right move, and that we needed to cut taxes, and that, you know, Joe Rogan gets to keep more of his money now because he doesn't want to give that money to the government because the government will mismanage it, so it better stay in his hands. That's the type of manipulation they use on you. Once you get rich, filthy rich, which, by the way, the reason Joe Rogan is filthy rich, let's be honest, he's popular, and a lot of people listened to him. And Spotify saw that and said, oh, we can use him to sell ads. And then they used him to sell ads. That's why he got paid. And who owns those companies that are selling ads? And if they tell Joe Rogan, like, hey, you have to say this, Joe Rogan's going to probably say no. But if they influence Joe Rogan and they make him not feel guilty about the fact that he has insane amounts of money while people are starving, then slowly he moves to their side. I remember the Joe Rogan who on his show said, I don't care if the government taxes me more money to pay for people to go to school or pay for poor people. I don't care. Like, if I was filthy rich, I wouldn't care if they tax me more if they're using it to do good things. And now he's like, oh, the government will never do good things, so you can't tax me. Well, it's just ironic for him to like sit here and process this in real time and not realize that like he has had a steady flood of billionaires who fundamentally want to undo the Constitution and consolidate power amongst themselves. And he doesn't realize that he's in the very group that he's criticizing.
Morally good. It's not just idealistic. It is good strategic advice.
That's part of the problem, is that the people that are in power want to stay in power. And the best way to stay in power is to enrich the other people around you that are like you, and create laws and create a structure that allows you to maintain ridiculous wealth.
Yep.
And
so when you take the tax bill that Republicans just pushed through, which however the fuck you want to spin it however you want. Were there cuts to poor people? Yes. Let's just say that we grant you that all of those cuts were for people who either, one, were receiving benefits because they weren't citizens here, or two, they were illegally getting benefits, right? Let's just say that they were illegally getting benefits and they were abusing the system. So they're being cut off. Every fucking billionaire that exists, they're all breaking the law every day. All of them are cheating on their taxes. Every fucking one of them. They never get audited. We don't have the manpower to audit them. We don't have enough intelligence in the IRS to audit them properly. They're all cheating the system. Every last one of them is cheating the system and stealing money from United States citizens. But we didn't demonize them. We didn't cut them off. We cut off poor people. So even if we grant you that every single dollar of Medicaid that is going to be cut was going to somebody who did not deserve that cut, how the fuck do you explain that you then cut taxes for tax cheats? So the poor people who cheat, no more benefits. The rich people that cheat, here's some more money. I don't understand it. I just don't get this. Like, how does he not realize this? Trump said billionaires. He said it's on. You can watch the video. Trump said on a hot mic where he didn't know he was being recorded, give me $1 billion and I will cut your taxes. And they gave him $1 billion and he cut their taxes. And the crypto dudes came to him. They're like, dude, we don't really like you. And he's like, hey, check this out. You give me a bunch of money, I'll cut all this regulation in crypto. I'll stop investigating you guys. I'll give you guys pardons. Any investigations that are happening to you right now, I'll just end those. You won't even be investigated anymore. They're like, that's a good idea. So they just kick him some money for crypto. The very thing he's talking about is exactly what happened. He just doesn't get it. In this country, rich criminals are great. Poor criminals are demonized. And it's a real fucked up way that we view the world. The people that cost us the most money, the people who are the beneficiaries of of being stealing from our government the most, are the richest among us, and yet they got more money. We gave them a reward. I saw Kevin O'Leary on CNN like, well, you're gonna punish the rich people, bitch. Sometime, how about fucking sometime we punish the rich people? Just like one time we punish them. They crashed our entire economy in 2008, and what did? We gave them money. Here you go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that economy that didn't work the way that you wanted it to. We're very sorry. Here's some money, please. Take our money, please. And then ever since then, it's just been like tax break, tax break, tax break. Ever since. We're just, every time they fuck us, we give them more money. Thank you. We're running out of money? Don't worry, we've got some poor people we can steal that from. Yeah, there's some people here that, they're here illegally, but they might die. We'll just let them die. Yeah, I know that guy has no arms or legs, but there's probably some job he could do, and he's not working enough to find some job, so we're going to cut benefits for him, because really he could work, right? So that $600 a month in benefits he's getting, we're going to cut that off. Where are we going to take that money? Oh, we're just going to send it to the rich folks, because we got to pay for that tax cut that we just gave them. So we're just going to steal from poor people. It's fine. Poor people aren't hurting America. People getting benefits aren't hurting America. There is show me some sort of statistical evidence that says that is a bigger drain on America than the fucking billionaires. And yet we now are in a situation where people like Joe Rogan have completely flipped. He went from like poor, grew up poor, then did fairly well on TV and did all right in stand-up comedy and had a popular podcast and was making good money. And he was still a man of the people because he was still around the people. And then he got fuck you money. And then he closed off his life. And then he moved to Texas where he doesn't pay taxes anymore. And he closed off his life. And he owns his own comedy clubs. He's comedy club. He's completely insulated himself from regular people. And then suddenly poor people are the problem. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that once he surrounded himself with rich people, he started sounding exactly like them? Yeah, it's really actually these poor people. They're really the problem. I can't drive down the street without seeing poor people. Yeah, bitch, that's called guilt. That's what that is. The reason that you're upset when you see people who are unhoused is because you have a shit ton of money and you know that you could actually fix that for them. You could just give them a house, but then you convince yourself, oh, well, if I hand out that money, then they'll just continue to leech off the government. Since when? Joe Rogan grew up on food stamps. His mom was getting food stamps. He talks about eating government cheese. He talks about his stepdad being poor, and they were using government benefits, and then they worked their way out of that, and then his stepdad was all of a sudden successful. Why? Because he had a safety net that he could use. How come it was okay for his stepdad? How come it was okay that his family was able to go from government assistance to no government assistance to wealthy to taking a son and teaching that son something enough that he got wealthy too? Isn't that the American dream? And now he's the guy that's like, fuck those people that are on food stamps. They're just mooching. Oh, okay. Dude, you move to a state where you don't have to pay income tax. You move to a state that you say is well run, first of all. You're like, oh, the Texas government's so much better than California. Why, Joe? Why are they better? Because they don't tax you. That's why. What does Texas do better than California for their people? Besides not taxing them, what do they do better? Are their schools better? No. Are their roads better? No. Is their grid better? No. Is the cost of living better? Yes. That's about it. That's about it. And it's getting closer because so many people now are moving to Texas that the cost of living is skyrocketing in Texas. It's going to be close. It's not going to be long before Texas and California, the cost of living is roughly the same, unless you want to live in West Texas or unless you want to live in fucking Gridley, California. You know, there's cheap places you can live. But all these things that Joe Rogan complains about with California, he moves to Texas. Texas doesn't do any of those things any better. But what don't they do? They don't tax you. So you get to keep more of your money. That's it. Sorry, I get frustrated with Joe because it feels like losing a friend with Joe Rogan. I know some of you may not understand that. But like for a white dude in my late 30s, like Joe Rogan was like, he was cool. Whether we want to admit it or not, Joe Rogan was like the shit. Our friend groups, like entire group texts were just like about, did you see this on Rogan? Yeah. Hey, can you believe that shit about aliens on Rogan? Like it felt like he was our friend. Like, and then he was kind of, even though we knew he was rich, like he was kind of one of us. He understood kind of the struggles, and he always had this middle ground. And then as soon as he gets fuck you money, it's fuck you poor people.
Suppress competition
and divide everyone to keep them distracted. This is my personal, like, what happens if we actually loved our enemies, if we rebuilt these relationships? Like, who could we take on if we did it together? Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and progressives.
There we go. Amy Lynn said that was supposed to say, oh, let's see. Let me scroll down. I sent one before. As of 2022, fastest growing demographic is elderly and disabled on fixed incomes. That's about to ramp up. It's not showing me that full comment. And then you said, I was supposed to say, as of 2022, fastest growing demographic of newly houseless is elderly and disabled on fixed incomes. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. Why can't I see this full comment section? And then Ham said, feeding, educating, offering healthcare to the poor is destroying this country. Rich people clearly need more money and do not have enough wealth. Clearly. Well done, Ham. That's solid. Clearly. We just got to give more tax breaks. Jeff, thank you for submitting to Jen's guilt trip. I appreciate you there. Alex said, you're telling me the bruising on Trump's hand from giving handshakes didn't heal as fast as a bullet wound? Maybe he's just been using it. Have we checked? Is he just using like cover up for his ear? Maybe there is a big hole, but they just fill it with like some sort of goop every day and then they shape it. It could be. I don't know. All right. More. This is the one, I think. All right, this is the last one of Talarico, and then we got about an hour left. This is a great story. Let me say this. I am hesitant to believe people's stories like their why. I worked in like the summer sales industry or like door-to-door sales industry. That's a massive industry in Utah. And you would go to sales trainings all the time, and it was just total bro culture. And I remember specifically working one summer in South Carolina, and I was selling alarm systems with Vivint. And it was door-to-door sales, and the whole point of the whole pitch of selling an alarm system was really dishonest. And if you could go back and hear my door-to-door, like I'm fairly ashamed of the way that I used to make my living. But you would go in and a lot of times you would just make up. You'd go in the newspaper, you go on Facebook, and you would see that a crime was committed in the city. And then you would go to that door and you'd be like, I don't know if you heard about this. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, it's a crime just down the street. You didn't know where the crime actually happened, but you're like, so we're out here. Our company sent us out today, and we're going to, with a special deal, because a lot of people were calling us frustrated, trying to get alarm systems. And so I just came out here and I'm talking to all the neighbors. We're putting in an alarm down the street at the Smiths. We're putting one down at the Andersons. And so we're just coming by. By the way, that's the sales pitch they'll always tell you if they come to your door. But I remember specifically one summer of that, and I hated it. I fucking hated it. And I knew it was going to be my last summer doing door-to-door sales. But I had to finish it out. And I remember the guy who was running that particular office. There was one day I went out. I was like on a Saturday. I went out and I got like 5 sales, which is a lot to sell. That's a few $1,000s in commission. And I went out, and then on Monday I just didn't work. I'm like, fuck that. Like I had a certain amount of money I wanted to make that summer. I've never been like a terribly money-driven person. I wasn't I've never been competitive with money. So he pulled me aside after Monday, and he's like, why didn't you work today? I was like, because I did great on Saturday. I was going to enjoy my time. And he's like, what is your why? I was like, what? He's like, what is your why? I was like, I just want to make enough money this year to pay my bills for the rest until like April when I'm planning on starting a new job. He's like, no. What is your why? And he wanted me to like come up with this whole story of why I needed money, and that story should drive me. And you'd hear a lot of them. At the time I didn't have kids, but a lot of the other guys would be like, I'm here for my kids, for my wife. And when times get tough on the doors, I look at this picture of my daughter and I say, that's my why. And I push through it. I think that that's fine. I think it now my motivation in life is my daughter, and that part of that is financial. Part of it is like where I live. Part of it is like my time allocation. I do want to be a good dad. That is the thing that I care about the most. So I'm not knocking having a why, but I am knocking the manipulation of people's why and getting people to do shitty things because of their why. You see this a lot with MLMs and like predatory companies. They tell you like, find your why, and then you won't mind doing this dog shit work where you're out trying to scam people every fucking day. And then you find your why, and then you get to justify your scam. I tell that story because what James Talarico is saying here is James Talarico is going to tell us a story about why he decided to run for Senate. I'm inclined to believe James Talarico here because I find him to be incredibly authentic. But I also just wanted to point out that a lot of times people say their why for running for office is bullshit. I see no evidence that James Talarico is motivated by money or power. However, if he is, it is what it is. I think this is a powerful story. I want to share it, but I just know that there will be people in the chat discrediting his why. You can decide whether or not you think this is honest, but it's an incredible story here from Talarico. So I wanted to share that before we move on to Epstein. And it's a little bit long, but it's a great story.
Going into this, when I first decided to run, I was 28, had never run for anything
How
before.
How old are you now?
36. I just turned 36. And I was, like I said, a former teacher, so I didn't know about how to run for office.
Why did you decide to run for office?
Well, so I was a teacher on the west side of San Antonio, which is for those your listeners who are in San Antonio, the west side is this beautiful, historic neighborhood, Mexican-American neighborhood. It's also one of the poorest zip codes in the whole state of Texas. So every day I saw my students struggling to overcome poverty and these systems that were designed to hold them back. And the school I was at was underfunded. I mean, it's Title I school. I taught 45 kids in one classroom, and the classroom was not that much bigger than the studio.
Oh my God.
So you may imagine 45 kids in here. You know, I literally had kids sitting on the air conditioning unit because there weren't enough desks. I mean, this is crazy. This is the 21st century
in America,
in the United States of America.
Wow.
And it pissed.
Muted.
Motherfucker, thank you. Imagine this happens in California. You guys would all beat this to death. You'd be like, oh, Gavin Newsom can't even properly fund a classroom. Imagine if Texans paid income tax. Imagine if they could fund schools a little better. Imagine that.
To me off. I mean, I had one student, I was a first-year teacher. What happens in schools, especially schools in high-poverty neighborhoods where things are really hard, you know, the administration of the school will oftentimes give the kids who need the most help, the kids who have the most troubles, to the first-year teachers, right? Almost like a hazing thing. So I remember my first year of teaching, my principal told me that I was going to get this kid named Justin, who had gotten kicked out of his elementary school the year before because he had brought a knife to school and threatened to stab his fifth grade teacher. So I was, again, first-year teacher, kind of freaked out, right? The kid shows up. One, he's not a monster. He's an 11-year-old boy, right? Like this high, right? I took him aside, introduced myself, told him I was happy he was in class, told him I wanted to get to know him. He gradually started to raise his hand a little bit more in class. He was super smart, super just quick. He also had like a great smile. He's very popular with the girls in the class, a lot of personality. And I started to invite him to our little lunch group because I had kids who came and ate in my classroom during lunch. And we started to kind of build a rapport. And he didn't have a lot of male teachers, so I think that was helpful to see a guy as a teacher and be able to build a relationship with him. Anyway, right before winter break that year, it's the last day of school, he brought me this wrapped gift. The wrapping was all jankety, but I opened it up and it was this little cup with a snowflake on it that he had bought at the Dollar Tree for his teacher. Again, this is a kid who was going to stab his fifth grade teacher. A few months later, he's bringing a snowflake cup to his sixth grade teacher. And I was feeling like I was on top of the world as a teacher. I was like, who's going to make the movie, right? Like, here I am, right?
Sandra Bullock's going to play you in a movie.
Yeah, who's going to play me? And then I came back after winter break. I was in my third period class, and I heard this commotion out in the hallway. So I immediately stepped out of the room to see what was going on. And there were two of our coaches, and they were both restraining Justin, either side of him. They were carrying him out of the school. He was screaming. His feet didn't touch the ground. Like, he literally was just carried out of the school. I found out that he had started a fight in his third grade class, and that was his last strike. And it was the last time I ever saw Justin. I did some digging to figure out what had happened. Turns out in the previous semester, Justin had been seeing a therapist that was provided by the school district. And it was this lady that he really was hitting it off with and getting along with. And they were going through all his issues because Justin had been abandoned by his mother at a very early age, which that'll screw anybody up, right? Justin had experienced violence, had experienced all this trauma. And so for the first time, there was a professional who was helping him work his way through it. And there was a teacher who liked him and who believed in him. And that was all it took for Justin to see all these improvements. And I found out that after winter break, that because of budget cuts from the legislature, the district had eliminated the therapist. So this lifeline suddenly went away for Justin. So literally everybody had abandoned Justin, including his own mother. And now the adults that he was trying to trust again were abandoning him. And so that was the kind of radicalizing experience for me, because these people at the state capitol had cut $5 billion from our schools. Who knows why? Who knows what the justifications were? But I saw firsthand how that screwed up a kid's life. I saw the damage that did to real flesh and blood human beings. And so I promised myself right then that if I ever got a little bit of power or a little bit of influence, that I would do everything I could with every fiber of my being to stop that from happening again. So literally Justin and my students are the ones I think about when I'm at the Capitol. They are the criteria that I use to evaluate public policy, not if it's a Democratic bill or Republican bill, not if it's going to get me, ex-lobbyist support. It is, will this help my students or will it hurt my students?
I just thought that was poignant. My mom was a school teacher, and my mom and I, we don't talk a ton, and we have pretty different political and religious beliefs, which I think it causes like a divide. But like that type of stuff, like to hear from a politician where it is not so obviously scripted, and where he can explain in real time like the reason he got into politics. That's the kind of stuff that gives me hope going forward. Like, people are going to sit there and listen to that podcast. I have a lot of friends who listen to that podcast. I think that type of messaging and those type of conversations work really, really well. I just wanted you to. I didn't want to watch that alone. So I don't know if you guys liked covering the Talarico stuff or not. I know that we lost all the Republicans. So many of the people that hate that come here to hate watch bounced, and you can come back now because we're going to talk about Epstein. John the Fourth said, I get what you mean. The way you talk about liking Rogan is how I feel about you. You feel like a friend, so you can't go crazy on me. I'll do my very best, John. Amy Lynn said, I remember the protests in the early 80s when they were really starting to defund schools. They were mad we had to put 22 kids in one class. I remember that too. I remember the cutoff in Utah was 30. Like, when there were 30 kids in a class, it was too many, and now it's way more. Lee said, honestly, what we could accomplish if everyone just agreed on freedom, liberty, and justice for all, including poor people. Yeah, facts. On facts. Let me check Jen's real quick. Jen's wondering if I'm leaving the number at 69 because I'm being my normal self. Yeah, I just haven't done the math, and I thought it was. I did like that we were on 69. I'll do the math at the end. I think we're pretty close on the goal, so I appreciate you guys. Let's get into the Epstein stuff real quick, and then we'll get out of here. First, I want to show our favorite Psychos, the PBD podcast. Something I found interesting with Patrick Bet-David is that Patrick Bet-David has started being really quiet, and he just sits back, and especially when it comes to Epstein or even Israel. Like, he doesn't want to take a position on any of these issues. This is, what's his name? Vinny and Adam. They're going to have a discussion. Now, Vinny, who's a psycho, and always looks like his this vein in his head is about to explode. Vinny's pissed about the Epstein stuff, and that's not surprising because Vinny's entire life is just being pissed about something. And Adam is a cucky little bitch who just runs cover for the status quo all the time. So you're gonna have two pro-Trump, pro-Republican people here arguing back and forth about whether or not we should release the Epstein files or care about it. And I never thought, in all the times I've watched Vinny lose his absolute shit, I never thought a day would come where Vinny and I would be aligned. But watching Vinny talk to Adam, and this is as calm as Vinny gets, watching him talk to Adam while Adam says, like, should we really care if our politicians are abusing children? It blows my mind that Adam is a real person. Last time we watched Adam on this podcast was when Anna Kasparian was talking about Palestine and the death of the children in Palestine, and Adam threw a tampon at her. So that's the kind of person Adam is.
We are built on pedophilia and blackmailing the most powerful
What
people.
do you mean we are built? Define that. Do you mean our entire country, our entire government, our entire FBI, CIA?
I'm saying this. Whoever,
or this is one little operation that
Adam,
they don't want to expose.
Whoever he was working for, Epstein, Mossad, CIA, everything. Apparently, the most powerful people on the world were flying to an island and having sex with underage kids because she said it. There's tens of thousands of hours of them doing it. If we're built on that and the most powerful people that are running the show are in charge, the guys telling Cash Patel, the thing that you just read, shut up. Shut up about it. Hold on, you know who I am. He knows who I am. I want accountability for everybody. If it's Trump, if it's Bill Gates, if it's Bill Clinton, I don't give a shit if it's the president of anything. Expose them because, Adam, the truth has to come out.
Okay, so I only have one question for you,
yes,
my dear friend.
I promise you, you are not ready for this. I do like Adam calling him his dear friend. I promise you, if you haven't seen this clip, you are not ready for the question that Adam is about to ask here. Jen probably messaged me to be careful with this video because it could get us down on TikTok. Let's see. No, she didn't. Jen's just threatening people in the chat. I promise you're not ready for this question.
I agree with you, but at what price?
Take a deep breath, Vinny.
Okay. But hold on, hear me out.
Did you see BBD? Take a deep breath, Vinny. Have some water. You guys should have told Vinny that a long time ago. But Adam's going to say, all right, I get it. I get it. All of our elected leaders seem to be child abusers. But should we really talk? At what price, Vinny?
At what price?
At any price, Adam.
So you're saying to expose whatever happened on Epstein Island, you're willing to do whatever this looks like.
Yes.
Tear down the government, expose all the secrets, put America basically in harm's way just to find out what's Epstein.
What do you mean, Adam?
Because these are the most powerful people in the world.
Yeah.
Are apparently on this island.
Adam, so let the truth be told or the heavens fall. I don't care.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
Adam, and that's who Vincent O'Shana is. I am 100% accountability, and I don't give a if.
That's not true. Vincent O'Shana is not 100% accountability. Vincent O'Shana is 10% accountability and 90% coke. I think I'm pretty sure. He's definitely not 100% of anything. There's a large majority of his life that is substance abuse.
Adam, if that's what we were built on,
at what price?
I don't give a shit.
Tearing
There is
down
no
America?
price. Guess what the price is, Adam? God.
So
God's
you want
the price.
You're going
to answer them anyway.
You want to rule a city of ashes.
I don't give a shit if it's built on pedophilia and raping kids. Yes, because
you're being emotional.
No, I'm not. I'm being
real. You have to understand.
Oh no, not emotion about people abusing children. How could you possibly have emotion about that? You're angry that people are abusing children? You silly little bitch. Yeah, we're pissed. Yeah, that makes people mad, dude. What kind of psycho? What kind of psycho's like, yeah, I know they're abusing kids, but I'm not going to get like emotional about it. I'm not going to raise my voice about it. Yeah, it's just life. What kind of psycho's not emotional about this?
I'm being real.
The whole concept of do you want to cut your nose off to spite your face? There might be an issue. But do you want to cut your whole nose off and ruin your entire face because you care that much about this entire issue?
If the machine is running right now because pedophiles are running the show and they're telling him, shut the hell up because we're all pedophiles, knock it down.
TikTok might not survive this one. We'll see.
And my last thing, pal, what bothered me about what he said is we're not going to re-victimize the girls and the victims. We're not going to do it.
Cash?
Yes, yeah.
This part I do have to cut out but then they're just going to explain like in the video you can blur people out. That's what we're resorting to. Like these are the people that scare the shit out of me. Like Vinny's a psycho. I understand. Like Vinny's going to be upset all the time. I don't think anybody really takes Vinny seriously. But Adams is sitting here going, "Hey, look, are we really like the whole world will fall apart if Donald Trump isn't president? If Donald Trump goes down for this, then the whole world, our whole country falls apart. What are you talking about? It was fine. It didn't fall. He wasn't president. He's been president for 4 years and 6 months, and we survived. We survived all that time. I think we'll be okay. I think it'll be all right. I don't think the whole thing's going to come crashing down if Trump isn't president anymore. That's how sick this cult has become. Here's Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is becoming our favorite Republican here. Thomas Massey, I do think one criticism about Thomas Massey from Republicans, or like the MAGA Republicans, that I think is fair, is I do think he likes being a thorn in people's side. And I appreciate that. I think that if you're somebody who's constantly poking and making people tell the truth, I think that that's a good thing. Thomas Massey did some incredible shit here. Number one, he tried to force a vote from Congress to make them vote on releasing the Epstein files. And to do that, he put his bill in a binder. And he called it the Epstein Files Phase 2. He copied Pam Bondi's Epstein Files Phase 1, and he called this Phase 2. And at the bottom here, it says, the most transparent Congress in the history of the United States, or the most transparent Congress in history, where she had said the most transparent administration in history. And there's the HRS 581. Brilliant. Absolute, 10 out of 10 trolling. Here he is now explaining what happened. So he took this resolution to the floor. They had 7 days to vest it and decide whether or not they wanted to vote on it. And at the end of the 7 days, then you force a vote. Mike Johnson didn't want to vote on it. So what Mike Johnson did is, before they were required to take the vote on it, he said, we're all going home for the summer. We're not going to vote on this. And he shut it down early. They were supposed to be done on the 24th. Today is the 23rd. So tomorrow was supposed to be their last day. He's just like, yeah, fuck it. We're going to shut it down. We're not going to vote on this. So it needs to be abundantly clear. There is no other reason stated that I've heard, and I'll show you Mike Johnson's explanation. I've seen no other explanation for why this Congress needs to go on vacation a few days early. I've heard no other justification. This is the only thing I know about that they were voting on. They tried to force a vote on it. Obviously, Trump called, Johnson was like, we're not doing that. But here's Thomas Massey explaining that.
What do you make of the Speaker's handling of this issue over the past couple of weeks?
I think he's scared. I think he's terrified.
Of what?
I think, 80% of MAGA, once these files released, they were promised this, they expected this, and it's not happening. But at the same time, he feels an allegiance to President Trump, who's gone against the MAGA base on this. So I think he's torn. I think the right thing to do would be just leave it up to the people's house. Let us vote on whether to release these files or not. And I hope he does not try to use some kind of parliamentary procedure to subvert or hide the release of these files.
What do you make of the Speaker's handling?
I've been told that during the live today, that a judge refused to unseal the grand jury the grand jury testimony because the DOJ lawyers submitted the wrong argument. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm being told. Lorraine said guilt from Jen. Here's some guilt. 36. Yeah, we're close. 36 away from that. Here is now Mike Johnson, and I just got to say, I don't think he has a good answer here. He's going to be asked, like he was asked about when Trump killed the fucking immigration bill, the border bill, and Trump wanted to run on it. Trump obviously is pulling the strings here, and Mike Johnson's going to be asked, are you just running cover for Trump here? You're not going to be able to hear the question. The question is, did the president ask you to delay the resolution to release the Epstein list until after recess? You're not going to hear it because her mic wasn't working, but then you'll hear Johnson's answer.
No, but I, as you all know, I speak to the president multiple times a day on a typical day, often, always. And what I know about the president's heart on this is that he...
First of all, you don't know anybody's heart fucking ever, 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 ever. And if you hear somebody saying, I know somebody's heart, tell that person to shut the fuck up. You don't know their heart. You don't know President Trump's heart. You have worked with him. He has lied to you repeatedly. You don't know this man. You don't know what's in his heart. Don't say what's in his heart. The question was, did he ask you to bury this? And you're, no, but let me tell you about his heart.
He agrees with everything I've said here today. He wants maximum transparency, but he's also very insistent that we do not subject people who have already been victims of unspeakable crimes to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very
That's such bullshit. This is why their polling sucks. Nobody's buying that shit. You really think, Mike Johnson, that the American people are demanding that you release these videos? You think that that's what this is about? Don't release the fucking videos. Just say like, yeah, we'll release everything, but we're not going to release the videos. You think anybody's going to be like, no, you got to do that too? Maybe some of like your folks, maybe Matt Gaetz will be upset about that. Maybe some of these Christian pastors will be upset about that. What was that guy that just got busted? That Republican in I think it was Michigan just got busted. Maybe some of your folks will be upset about that. But like, this is such a fucking lie that they're telling right now. Nobody believes it. We don't even have to debunk this. Nobody thinks that the reason the Epstein files are not being released is because they're protecting the victims. Nobody thinks that. This is their best argument, though, because the truth is Trump is in the files. I don't know what they say, but we all know he's in the files. And we all know at this point, even like going back to the PBD clip, even Adam knows he's guilty. They all know he's in those files. They all know he did some weird shit. I'm starting to see now they're talking about the age of consent. Like, well, do we really, like, what is the age of consent's different in different states? I don't know. Like, you know, maybe Trump, like, maybe it was like a 17-year-old. Is that really the worst thing? Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad because this isn't a consenting thing. This is a sex trafficking. That's the other part. It's not even like, it's still bad if there's consent. But we're also talking about trafficking. Nobody believes this shit from Mike Johnson. Christian Mike Johnson. This guy is 100% phony, and I think it's because Trump has dirt on him.
to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very dangerous thing to put those people's names out or to do a release of information in a way that is haphazard where they could be easily unmasked. And so you have to be very careful about how you do that. I think we have a moral responsibility to do that. We have a moral responsibility to expose the evil of Epstein, and everybody was involved in that. Absolutely.
Yeah, slam your desk a little harder while you don't release the Epstein files and then leave early. Do you really think we're this fucking stupid, Mike Johnson? Republicans that are here, are you comfortable with the fact that your speaker thinks you're this goddamn dumb? Do you like being talked to like this? Do you like being talked to like you're a complete fucking idiot that doesn't know anything at all? We are completely transparent. No, you're not, bitch. You haven't done, none of this is transparent. Stop telling us that you care about, you don't care about this. You could release it. You could stay. You could work longer. We're so transparent that we're going to take off for vacation a little bit early. Are you guys tired of being gaslit like this? Are you comfortable with this? If anybody talked to me like I was this stupid, I'd be furious. He's not talking to me. He's talking to you. I just want to know if you guys are upset about this. There's no way you guys can have Mike Johnson talk to you like you're toddlers and be like, yeah, this is totally what we wanted. No, the disrespect. Have some self-respect, folks. Don't let people talk to you like this. Don't let people talk to you like you're an idiot.
And we're resolved to do it, but we also have an equal moral responsibility to protect the innocent. And that is a fine needle to thread. And we could all give ourselves easy political cover and come out and do something in a haphazard fashion, but I would not be able to sleep at night because I know our legal responsibility. I understand what the legal standard is, but
this is so crazy. Redact all the names of the victims. Don't show any videos of the victims. What else do you need to do? Like, they're pretending like this is, it's very complex and you have to do it, and you can't do it in a haphazard way. Yeah, redact the names of the victims unless those victims are comfortable having their name out there, in which case you can put them out there. And don't show any videos of the victims. Don't show images or videos of the victims and redact their names. We already know that there's redacted names. You guys have already put out redacted names. This is not that complicated. They're lying to you. They're gaslighting you. They're lying. What other reason, by the way, are they lying? Why were FBI agents tasked with going through the document to find references to Trump? And then they show up and they're like, we're totally going to go on vacation. Because, like, AI could do this. AI could literally redact all the names. You could just punch that into AI and you could have all the names redacted. Or you could hide, like, these FBI agents, they're not going on vacation. They could do it. They could redact it. All this shit could be done. There is absolutely no truth to what Mike Johnson's saying. And I haven't read all the comments, but I would venture to say there's not a single dipshit in here defending Mike Johnson right now. And I know that you can't feel good about being lied to like this. Cookie said, you're right about Jubilee. People need to know that Yahtzee still exists. We tried to tell them. We see them online, but people didn't believe it. Thank you. Bad Religion said, New Wall Street Journal reporting Bondi told Trump in May that he was in the files many times. Oh, shit. If you have that, Bad Religion, can you send that to Jen? Or Jen, can you look that up? I want to see that report.
More than that, the moral standard, okay? So we're going to do this, and we're going to do it expeditiously. We're going to do it the right way. What is popular isn't always right, and what is right isn't always popular. I had an 8th grade teacher tell me that one time. I carried it with me my whole life. We're going to do the right thing here. And the American people at the end will see that we did that in the right way and on the right timetable.
You said Mike Johnson, that Mike Johnson's so chill. Yeah, dude, I know Mike Johnson. I know all about Mike Johnson. I grew up with a 1,000 Mike Johnsons. These were all my church leaders lying to my face. These were all the church leaders when I told them, when I had questions. I sat down. Hey, guy was actually fairly cool. I don't want to shit on this guy. But when I moved into my house, the Mormon church like keeps records, and my parents would send them to, because they all want you to come back to church, so they'll track you down. So they sent like the Mormon missionaries to my house, and I told them, I messaged the bishop, and I said, look, you can keep sending missionaries to my house, but I'm going to invite them in, and I'm going to tell them what I know. So I don't know if you want to do that or not, but like, I'm not going to sit there and let them give me a message. I'm going to talk to them. We're going to talk about their message. So he just invited me in to have a sit down, and that was this. I've been with Mike Johnson. I know that Joseph Smith had a 14-year-old bride that he absolutely had sex with, and he sat there in front of my face and said, we don't know that that's true. We don't know that that's true. You have to have more faith than that. I've read her journal. I know that her parents agreed to it. I know that her parents gave consent, and it's in their parents' journal too. So her parents lied about it, and she lied about it, and those journal entries were in the moment, and they just knew that they were writing these journal entries to lie to me down the road. I know everybody like Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson's the same guy that I saw stand out in front of a microphone when the Mormon Church got caught hiding billions of dollars from their membership, who sat out there and said, look, we did this for the good of the people. We lied to you because we knew that if we didn't lie to you, that you'd stop paying tithing, and then you wouldn't get the Lord's blessings. So we lied for you. It's what he just said here. If you didn't catch that here at the end, Mike Johnson just told you, fuck you. We know better than what you know. I know that everybody wants this, but sorry, we're going to do it our way because we're right. That's how he ends this. We know better than you.
We could all give ourselves easy political cover and come out and do something in a haphazard fashion, but I would not be able to sleep at night because I know our legal responsibility. I understand what the legal standard is, but more than that, the moral standard, okay? So we're going to do this, and we're going to do it expeditiously.
Joseph Smith was a chill guy. Don't freaking lie. My bad. He was chill.
We're going to do it the right way. What is popular isn't always right, and what is right isn't always popular. I had an 8th grade teacher tell me that.
Yeah, bitch, but your job is to do what the people want. That's your job. We pay you. Your job is to do the things that we want you to do. And he's openly just telling you, look, I know what the evidence looks like, but I know what's in Donald Trump's heart, and what's right is what's in Donald Trump's heart. And so I'm going to do what's in Donald Trump's heart, and you guys just need to shut the fuck up about it. That's what they're telling you, folks. I don't know if you like that or not. I don't know. I know Emma wouldn't know a thing about his other wives if Joseph hadn't been caught in the barn with a 16-year-old girl. That's true. Oh, we don't know that. You know, sometimes the Lord works in mysterious ways. Sometimes the Lord needs the leader of your church to be a child abuser. And that's how he teaches you lessons in mysterious ways. You don't know how the Lord operates. You just have to have faith that everything's perfect. We're running out of time, so I'm going to have to skip some stuff. Let's move down here. I want to go to Mark Epstein, Jeff Epstein's brother, I've got questions about Mark Epstein. I don't know why he's out doing this, but he is. I don't know what he thinks about his brother. That's mostly what I have questions about. I want to know what Mark Epstein thinks about his brother, because I hope he doesn't think his brother's a good guy. I hope that he's advocating because he wants to see his brother and the network exposed. But here's him telling CNN about conversations he used to have with his brother about Donald Trump.
And Mark, from what you know, from what you saw, how close was your brother to Donald Trump?
They were very close. They were good friends. Jeffrey used to sometimes tell me things that Donald said that were funny. I know Donald was in Jeff's office a lot back in the 90s. It's documented that Donald flew on Jeff's plane a number of times. I don't know if they ever checked, but I know Jeff flew on Donald's plane also. I don't know if they've ever looked at his flight logs. And they were good friends. I flew on Jeff's plane. It's known I was on a plane in 1999, flying up from Florida, and Donald was with us. And we were all joking around. They were good friends.
So,
There you go. Maybe we should check Donald Trump's flight log. Somebody said, why didn't they release it under the Biden administration? They actually did. Everything that has been released actually happened under the Biden administration. But I think that, just if we're being fair, I think that it's likely that, one, there was no mandate from Democrats to release this client list. There wasn't really a big push with Biden because I don't think that there's any evidence that Biden had anything to do with it. I do think that a lot of people, this is politically motivated, that they don't really care about bringing down all of these people in power. And I do think that there's a lot of people that want it released just because they think Trump's on it, and that some of those people might not want it released if somebody that they loved was on it. I don't fall into that category. Again, Occam's razor, if I'm going to say I don't see any evidence that Biden was anywhere near Epstein or was friendly with him at all. So if I want to say, like, why wouldn't they release this? I think it's a combination of two things. Number one, there was very little pressure for them to release it. And number two, I think that Israel is also going to be implicated here. I think that the CIA is going to be implicated here. I think the FBI is going to be implicated here. And I think that if we're going to take it, if we're going to say, like, if Biden knew about this and chose not to release it, I would say that the most likely reason he wouldn't release it would be because it implicates Israel. Again, because we know Trump is in the file. We know his name is in the file. It would have made sense for Biden to want to release that if it was going to damage Trump. I doubt Biden knows what's in it. If we're being honest, I doubt Biden is aware of what is in the Epstein file. I see no evidence that he ever concerned himself with any of it. I would imagine that people that he counted on to give him advice never brought it up. And I think that some of those people likely could want it to be covered up. I think it's very clear that members of our intelligence agencies don't want this out there. I mean, they've interfered in every Epstein case. They interfered in the first Florida one. They put pressure on the prosecutors in Florida to cut Epstein a deal because he was allegedly an asset. So I don't think that the CIA wants it out. I don't think that the FBI necessarily wants it out. I certainly don't think that the DOD wants it out. And for goddamn sure, Israel doesn't want it out. So I think that there are powerful players with faces that we don't know and names that we don't know who are probably have probably always put pressure on presidents. Biden, Trump, and Obama before him, or they kept those secrets from them. You have to remember, like, it's not like the president goes in and he starts going and reading through everything. Biden would have had to be curious about what's in the Epstein files to go through it. And I imagine if he is curious because he doesn't have time, he probably just assigns that to somebody. And look, I don't think that the president always gets good answers or correct answers from their advisors, especially the CIA and FBI. So Trump then had a phone call with CNN, and he was asked about this new release of a photo of Epstein at Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And eventually Trump gets really upset and just hangs up.
One of the photos that K-File found confirms that Epstein actually attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And this is the proof. Again, this has never been published before. So this is a new image. You haven't seen it out there on X or anything like that.
Actually, Jerry, that's a good point. Jerry Mandarin. What's up? Jerry Mandarin, that's a good point. If this exonerated Trump, don't you think he would have put it out and sold merch, as Jerry said? The same, let's work that argument backwards. I don't know. I've never made that connection. So this is all Jerry here. But yeah, if the argument is why didn't Biden release it if it was so bad? The other argument is why is Trump not releasing it if it clears him? If it's going to implicate all these other people, why doesn't Trump release it then?
Is the proof that Epstein attended Trump's wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York. And in the photo, what you see is Epstein entering the Plaza Hotel. The wedding date of this is December 20th, 1993, in the center of their friendship, which of course continued. And for comparison, we'll show you on the right a photo of Trump and Marla Maples at the same location under the entryway arch. Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is here with the new images of Trump and Epstein. And Andrew, I shared one of them there, but, so let's start with the one at Trump's wedding. I mean, this is a significant development.
Well, yeah, it is. Trump's wedding to Marla Maples in 1993 was dubbed the wedding of the century by the media at the time. And although we know that Trump and Epstein were friends during this period, this is really the first time that it's...
That marriage was short, wasn't it? That's tough. Sorry about wedding of the century. There we go. There's old Jeff, though, walking into the wedding.
Actually been reported that Trump invited Epstein to his wedding. This is, we should note, more than a decade before those first allegations of sex trafficking against Epstein. But as you know, Trump's relationship with Epstein has been under the microscope recently. Now, besides that one photo of Epstein entering the reception at the Plaza Hotel, we can also see him in the background of another picture. That's Howard Stern on the far right, along with Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And Epstein is behind them at the wedding, almost seeming to be photobombing them.
Seems happy. Tony said, MAGA and Republicans, give your balls a tug.
We also found...
give your balls a tug, he said. And then KRAR said, Trump admin 1 had docs first, stolen with other docs. Yeah, I think you're saying that they had the documents too and they didn't release them. Yeah.
This photo from just a few months earlier, Donald Trump with 2 of his children talking to Jeffrey Epstein. That's at the opening of the Harley-Davidson Cafe in New York in October 1993. You can see Ivana there. She would have been just about to turn 12 years old in that photo.
Yeah, you can see Ivanka right there between Trump and Epstein. All right, these are...
I can see if you... I know he's at the wedding. Says Michael, I don't care unless he's the best man. You fuckers will... I don't know if you're joking or not. I think you're joking. That's him. Okay. Well, he might have been the best man, but if he didn't have a threesome with Trump on the wedding night, then it doesn't count. I hope you're joking.
Never before seen photos, Andrew. I know you also found some video of Trump and Epstein that was from later of them talking. That has also never surfaced before. What's that?
Well, that's right. This is from 6 years later in 1999. This video has never been seen before in this context. It shows Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein just before models hit the runway at the Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York in 1999. You know, the only other video we've seen of the two men was 7 years before this. Trump is at the show with Melania, who is, of course, now First Lady, seated a few feet away from Epstein. You can see them chatting during the show as well. Allegations that Epstein sexually abused underage girls didn't surface until 2005, years after this video was shot.
Right, but this, of course, establishes them together and obviously very friendly in 1999. So, Andrew, when you get all this, and all of this, as I just want to emphasize, right, has not been seen before. So you actually called President Trump. You called him directly to ask him about this.
Yeah, we were not on the phone very long. I think our call was about 30 seconds or so. But when I asked him about the wedding photo, he said, he sort of paused for a second and then said, "You've got to be kidding me," before calling CNN fake news and then hanging up on me.
Are you kidding me? I'm hanging up. Listen, don't let it, as this comes out, like Republicans will shift it. I've seen some of it in the comments now, but don't let them change the narrative here. The reason that these videos are important is because Trump claims that they weren't friends, that they barely hung out. In fact, when all this stuff first came out, he was like, I barely knew Jeffrey Epstein, barely at all. And then he said, and then he's claimed like, oh, I was at one party. Oh, we barely knew each other. And all this evidence keeps coming out that shows, at the very least, Trump was lying about his connections to Epstein. He was lying about how close they were. This is important. This does show that Trump is lying about something for a reason. Why else would he lie about this? What's the purpose of lying about this? If I'm Trump, right, and I'm innocent and I haven't done anything and I'm not going to show up, I would say, look, I was friends with this guy for a long time. We were super close. And I didn't see any of this shit happen. That's kind of what RFK did. You notice RFK is not getting any heat on this? Because basically what RFK said is, yeah, like he was rich, he was famous, we all knew him. I didn't know much about his personal life. I flew on his plane. Everybody kind of knew him. We all hung around him. And then when this came out, all of us were like, oh, shit. And RFK's gotten away with it because he's basically said, like, yeah, I was on his plane. And he was ahead of it. He said before we even knew, he's like, yeah, I flew on that plane a couple of times. Yeah, I flew on his plane. It was different. Trump has been lying. Trump keeps getting caught lying about his relationship with Epstein. The question is why? Why is he lying about this connection with Epstein? Don't let them say like, oh, this proves nothing. It proves a lot. These videos are important. They prove that Trump is a chronic fucking liar and that the people around him are covering for him. They're telling you lie after lie after lie. Oh, they weren't friends. Oh, they were clearly friends. They were clearly close friends. You're at his wedding. You're at these events together. Epstein's calling you his best friend. You're writing notes to him for his birthday. How often does somebody contact you to write a note for somebody's birthday? This happened to me recently. I had a friend who lost his brother, and his wife reached out and was like, "Hey, everybody's writing notes for like his close friends. We wanted to make a book for his birthday. Can you write like a memory?" And we 15 of us wrote a memory. Those were like his closest friends. That's who reached out. You wouldn't reach out to write a letter from Trump and have Trump write that insane fucking poem, by the way, or whatever that is, not a poem, that conversation, which was the weirdest shit I've ever seen, about like keeping secrets together and then drawing a picture and signing it. Like, he lied about that too. Trump's like, oh, that's not me. It's clearly him. It's clearly. So all of this stuff, it just goes to show like Trump is obviously doing a cover up. And I asked the question again to Republicans, like, do you not feel at this point yet? Are you not tired of being gaslit? This is from Empty Will. Todd. Actually, I'll just summarize here. Todd Blanche, who was Trump's personal attorney, who now has been assigned a role at the DOJ, put out this statement. The Department of Justice does not shy away from uncomfortable truths, nor from the responsibility to pursue justice wherever the facts may lead. The joint statement by the DOJ and FBI of July 6 remains as accurate today as it was when it was written, namely that in recent thorough review of the files maintained by the FBI in the Epstein case, no evidence was uncovered that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. President Trump has told us to release all credible evidence. If Ghislaine Maxwell has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and DOJ will hear what she has to say. Therefore, at the direction of Attorney General Bondi, I have communicated with counsel for Ms. Maxwell to determine whether she would be willing to speak with prosecutors from the department. I anticipate meeting with Ms. Maxwell in the coming days. Until now, no administration on behalf of the department had inquired about her willingness to meet with the government. That changes now. So Trump's personal attorney, his friend, is now going to meet with Maxwell off the record. And let's just let's make some assumptions, because we're not going to get the truth about that. They're not going to tell us what happened. There will be no record of what was discussed in that. We'll just have to trust them. So let's look at the facts right now. We're not releasing the files. We're not going to release the files. We may never release the files. The chance of us releasing the files is determined by Congress now, because Trump won't release them. So we have to force Trump's hand because he refuses to release the files. So by not in a moment of no transparency where they won't release the files, Trump is now doing the Trump thing where he's like, no, actually, I'm being more transparent. And their solution to all of this is, I'm going to take Trump's personal attorney and they are going to meet with Maxwell off the record. And then they're going to come back and tell you what Maxwell said. Or not off the record. I guess there will be no record of it. And then they're going to come back and they're going to say, trust us. Now, if I was Maxwell in this scenario, or I was Maxwell's lawyer, I would say, listen, she doesn't want to be in jail anymore. Give her a pardon and she won't rat you out. What are you going to do if Trump pardons Maxwell? Are you going to take that as a sign that Trump is innocent? They are fighting their lack of transparency with an even less transparent process. Now they're saying, Congress, go home. We're not giving you those files. We're not going to release the files. Trump's saying, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But don't worry, my personal attorney and friend is going to go meet with her, and you'll have no record of that, and he will give you the answers. And you're cool with that. Only a president who has a cult-like following can get away with this. No other president could get away with this. This is crazy. Literally nobody else could get away with this. He's just lying right to your face. He just thinks you're stupid. And he told you you're stupid. I love the uneducated. I'm going to be a Republican because these people are fucking idiots. Yeah, it's looking to be correct. And it's the thing that sucks, like on my end, and for other people in like that cover politics for a living, I don't want to cover Epstein every fucking day. I don't want to do that. I honestly want to talk about more important issues, but now Congress is going on recess, so they're not going to be passing any laws. So for 2 months now, all of us are going to cover Jeffrey Epstein, and we're going to uncover more stuff. So for the next 5 weeks, it's going to be wall-to-wall coverage of Epstein, while Trump is going to trot out his personal attorney, who's then going to come out and say, believe me, not going to happen, dude. It's not going to happen. And, man, I'm going to get tired of Epstein. Where are we at? It's 12:57. I do have a hard cutoff today. I do have to cut off at 1. So I will save the rest of the Epstein stuff for tomorrow. Let me make sure I have all the comments covered. One last thing, Jen. Where did that go, Jen? Can you send me that? Here it is. This is what they're referencing in the Wall Street Journal before we go. I don't have my subscription saved on here. Is it going to give me a paywall? Let's see.
I had a paywall, but Aaron Parnas covered it.
Did you drop it?
His video?
Yeah, send me that.
I
just need to.
Video. And you missed a bunch of comments.
Okay, that you sent. Oh, all right. Starting after the Wall Street Journal, or were there some before that too? Oh, there. I think I caught.
Yeah.
Okay. Goose said, as a victim of SA, I would love if my abuser were exposed, even if it meant my name and picture, whatever, had to be made public. FOD says, as long as Wall Street Journal accusations keep happening, it lures Trump into court for discovery. Legit or no, Trump doesn't want court on this. KRAR says, Trump admin had docs first, stolen with other docs. I did read that one. Jamar says, still waiting for you to jack off into your mouth while staring at someone else's money. Jesus. Kristen says, Wall Street Journal, Bondi told Trump he was in the files in May. I'll play that video here in a second. I think I got those. All right, here's Aaron Parnas. Pull that up on TikTok.
We have
hate TikToks. Go.
Some breaking news right now. The Wall Street Journal is now reporting that back in May, Pam Bondi and the Justice Department told Donald Trump that his name is among the many in the Epstein files. They then decided not to release the files publicly. This is bombshell reporting from the Wall Street Journal issued minutes ago. So essentially there are a, quote, truckload of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. The Department of Justice discovered earlier this year, according to the Wall Street Journal, that Trump's name appeared, quote, multiple times, according to a senior administration official that spoke to the Journal. Bondi and her deputy, Todd Blanche, informed the president at a meeting at the White House in May that he was among those named in the Epstein files. Here's the thing, being named is no sign of wrongdoing. It was a routine briefing, according to officials, that covered a number of topics, and Trump's appearance in the documents wasn't a primary focus. But there were hundreds of names in these files, including names likely of very influential individuals. And Trump deferred during this meeting to Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice on whether or not to release the names. Spread the word, read the full article on the Wall Street Journal's website, and follow along for all the news you need to know about this story. Is not going away, even if Trump wants it to.
All right, we'll cover that tomorrow. Interesting. Somebody's leaking. This is the weird part. There's somebody in this administration is leaking. And I'm trying to figure out who it is. This shit's getting to the Wall Street Journal from somebody in the administration. I don't know if it's Bondi. It'll be interesting. I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna figure out tomorrow. I'm gonna spend some time tonight, figure out if I can come up with a good theory of who's leaking. If you guys have good theories on who's leaking, send me. Drop those in the Discord. Drop them in the general chat of Discord, and I'll look. I think Hog Show. That's my initial hunch. My initial hunch is J.D. Vance. There's something else J.D. Vance did that I didn't get to today, and it doesn't matter anymore. It could be Rubio. Rubio's another good guess. But I was watching Tim Dillon went, I don't know if he went on Alex Jones's podcast or the other way around, but Tim Dillon was with Alex Jones, and he mentioned that last week, and Tim Dillon, for any of you who don't remember, he's a comedian, podcaster who has been absolutely ripping this administration for their coverage of Epstein, or for the Epstein stuff, and he believes they're covering up. And he said he had dinner with J.D. Vance, which is a weird thing. Like, there's not really a connection there. Tim Dillon's not really politically active. He hasn't historically been like on the podcast bro circuit. Somehow Tim Dillon had dinner with J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance is a good guess. I do think that J.D. Vance being largely silent lately, Peter Thiel being really quiet, and suddenly Elon has been quiet. The money behind J.D. Vance has gone very, very quiet. So I think that's a good guess. Did I miss any other ones? I don't think so. Jen, did I miss any that you know of?
I don't think so. Did you check your Cash App and PayPal?
I did. I'll check one last time here before we go. I think we're all good. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. The replay of today's show can be found on YouTube. Also, the replay of yesterday's show, if you missed it, it was a deep dive into the origins of Donald Trump and Russia. I think it unequivocally shows that there is no like Russian collusion hoax. Collusion happened. A lot of it isn't a crime. Some of it is a crime. And people went to jail for working with Russia inside the Trump administration. So if you missed that, check that out. Tomorrow morning, hopefully, we'll have some more answers. If you want to be with us for our debates, we have paid memberships on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. Make sure you're a paid subscriber, and when we do our next debate, which I hope to have an announcement on sometime this week, you can watch that with us instead of with the incel army over at Raging Tomato or wherever we go. Engage with us on TikTok. Join the Discord if you'd like to. That's free of charge. We'd love to have you in there. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Go support other creators. Stay cute and cool. And have a great I'm stalling because I can't find the button. Great summer.